Hello and welcome to episode 25 of In PS We Trust. My name's Davey and joined with me as always is Phil.
Hello.
And Spencer.
Let's go.
We're a fortnightly PlayStation podcast and we each bring one topic of conversation to the table to go in depth on. But first, listeners, I gotta make you aware this is going to be a different kind of show than normal because what I predicted finally came true. Last episode I was saying all about how the PlayStation event was going to happen and then I was 0 for 2 and all this. It actually happened. So we got a lot to talk about today on today's episode, so it's only going to be a 2-topic episode. But before we get into that, boys, what are you drinking?
I'll start. We know I'm a fan of the whiskey, so I'm back on that. I'm drinking Jim Beam with an M.
Ooh, with the M. So you haven't gone for the knockoff.
Nah.
You got the knockoff version then. You don't have the official Jim Beam.
That's bullshit.
Imagine you went to a place and they actually sold Jim Beam instead of Beam.
I'd be happy.
Would you question it?
I'd be happy.
Depends on what price it came in. Would that be the more expensive or would it be the cheaper version?
Surely it's the more expensive version because you think about it, right? You go to Aldi or something and you get, instead of Andrex toilet paper, it'd be like Pandex or some other random bollocks name, right? That's just totally made up out of nowhere. Instead of having like Cheerios, it'd be like Holy O cereal. And it's like, okay, all right. So I reckon Jim Beam is like that, of the Jim Beam world.
Sounds like bullshit to me. But I will say I'm pairing it with something I've never had before. And that is Tango Dark Berry Sugar Free.
What
Where the hell have you got that from?
My mum got it. But I will say I might have COVID right now because I can't taste anything. I couldn't even tell you how this tastes because I've never had it before today.
Why don't you just drink it straight? If you can't taste it, why don't you just drink it straight?
What, the whiskey?
Yeah, not the Tango.
It'll still burn my throat.
You're not a
I reckon.
madman, mate. You don't drink the fucking Tango straight. What are you, crazy?
Well, I won't be able to taste the flavour of the whiskey, but it'll probably still ruin my throat, won't it?
Do you reckon? I reckon you
Yeah.
should test it right now. When you have a swig. I don't know if this has happened before. COVID, obviously, they're doing a lot of research into it, aren't they? And they've done a lot of work now figuring out what the symptoms are, loss of taste, all this nonsense. I want to know if you get a loss of sensation in the mouth. So swig it back, see if you feel that burn.
Tell you what, I don't have much whiskey left, so I'll have a sip. Little sip, because there's literally that much left.
Give that a sip and then give the Tango a sip. You're probably too young for this, but back in the day, when you sip Tango, a half-naked man will run in. You'll be orange and he'll tango you. That used to be the advert. And that used to be you being tangoed. So we'll see if that happens as well.
It was a daily occurrence as well. It was something you had to be really worried about when you had a Tango. You had to lock all the doors, make sure that the Tango man just wasn't going to get you. Because he would be there. And the same reason that you didn't want to wear Nikes either. Because Belly would get you. So you just wanted to be careful that otherwise you'd get chased by a random stomach running down the road. It was a terrifying time, the early 2000s. I'm on fucking tenterhooks here.
I'll tell you what, couldn't taste it.
Ooh.
But also, I think it burned less than it usually would.
Oh, we'll see Spencer on the Sambos later then.
That might be me tricking myself. That might be placebo. But I feel like it did. I can feel it, and it's still there as well. It's stuck around. But yeah.
So COVID, we know now, COVID myths busted. We know that you don't lose sensation in the mouth and throat from drinking a strong alcoholic beverage. There you go, the more you know. The more you know. So Phil, what about yourself? What nonsense are you on today?
No nonsense, Davey. I've just gone for a straight Budweiser. Spencer has been neglecting them now for coming up 3 or 4 weeks now since you've had a Budweiser on the show, Spence. It's been a while. Anyway, so I've picked it up. Just going with the straight up Budweiser. We're not even going Bud Light tonight, mate. We are going full, legit, full fat Budweiser, the king of beers.
Do you know, I'm quite glad to see Budweiser reappear, to be honest. It's become something that I took for granted in the early part of this show, and then now it's become a bit of a novelty, seeing it again. Obviously, Bud Light doesn't count, it's sort of bollocks, but it's good to see the full-fat version back. Appreciate that. Well, guys, I've gone for something a little bit out of the wheelhouse, So I was in Asda looking at all the different beers, as you do. Estrella wasn't on sale, so I thought, well.
Are you in there feeling up the bottles again?
I was looking, today I didn't want a touch sensation because I had such a good time with the Grolsch last time. I thought I want something for the eyes, right? I want something that just looks good. And so I found this bottle, and this beer is called Heverlee. Heverlee. I'm probably butchering that. But anyway, this is a premium Pilsner lager. But what it's got on the front of it is a little fox that they've drawn on. And he just looks awesome. So I was like, yep, that's enough. I'm sold. I'm going to get that. Do you know, this beer started in 11.29. I mean, for all you people out there that know your history, the only other date I know earlier than that is 1066. So it is a mad long time ago. There's a lot going on there. But yeah. And do you know what, guys? I thought it was going to be nonsense. I thought it was going to be one of those beers that I'd get on it. Phil would be like, oh, I love that beer. La 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 la. And it would be a load of shite. But it turns out it's just a really nice Pilsner. So I'm really happy with this. Got one bottle of that, and I got 2 bottles of Beer Moretti, just to play it safe, just in case it was Garbo.
For the uninitiated, with your foxy lager there, Davey, what would you liken it to? What lager, what popularised lager would taste very similar to that one?
I'll give it another swig. Hold on.
Are we saying it's on a Carlsberg level, or are you stepping it up?
No, it's definitely above that. It's more like a Camden Hells lager. That's what it's more like. Just quite a full-bodied Pilsner. But it doesn't have that manky dandelion and Bardock bollocks aftertaste that you get from a lot of shitty Pilsners. You know, from like really high-end ones that are made with all organic wheat or whatever bollocks they put in it. But it doesn't have any of that. It's just literally just tastes like a really nice lager. So I'd thoroughly recommend it. Heavily, it's got a nice little fox on the front. Have a look out for it.
We'll have to start putting the what are we drinking into the show notes so people can follow along with our lager choices as well while they're drinking at home.
I'm sure we'll get to the point at some point that we'll have to do like a ranking on them.
Spencer, how'd you rate your drink? 7 out of 10.
Spencer's always straight in there with a solid 8, isn't he? It's always quite high.
I think he's changed since I started bringing it up.
Nah, mine right now is like, well, it's a solid 5 because it's not bad, it's not good, I can't taste it.
You just don't know.
It could be disgusting, I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what's not disgusting, Spencer. Some of the games we've been playing over the last 2 weeks.
This time on NPS We Trust, what have the boys been playing?
So Spencer, what have you been playing?
Right, I've been playing a fair bit this last 2 weeks. Not too much, but a bit. But there's one game that's kind of been my hangover cure because I've played it twice, and both times have been all day, the day after a night out when I've been mortalized. And that game is Resident Evil 3 Hardcore. This was my second session playing it, and I finished it. Took me about 6-ish hours, and fucking, it's fun. I thought, you know the final boss with the railgun. It's fine, I can spoil it now. It's been a while.
I mean, it's a remake. It's a remake
Yeah.
of a game that came out in 1999. I think you're okay.
Yeah.
And you'd imagine some of the people that listen to our podcasts are Resident Evil fans because we do talk about these games that in the rest of the show we can't mention, but now it seems to be free game.
Well, if they aren't Resident Evil fans, they must be fucking fuming. We talk about it
Livid.
all the time.
A lot.
Absolutely livid, yeah.
But I had my friend Dan stay over. Or like he stayed over mine from the night out, and then he just chilled with me and watched me play Resident Evil because he was enjoying it. And on that railgun fight, I said, "Oh mate, we're literally at the end of the game. I'll just beat this well quick." Took me like 20 fucking tries. I had no ammo going into that fight whatsoever. I struggled to hit all those little balls that come out of it to stun it, so you can hit the thing. It one-shots you. That was it. It took me fucking ages. Beat the game. I was fucking buzzing. It's completely different. Hardcore changes that game so much.
Do you find that it's a way scarier experience on Hardcore? I know we kind of touched on this last time, but obviously now with how much extra you've gone through compared to the last time you spoke about it, how are you finding? Obviously the bosses are a lot harder, but in terms of the overall, kind of the bit I really want to know about, if I'm honest with you, right, I'll just cut the shit. The bit I want to know about is when you're Carlos in that hospital, how different was that on Hardcore compared to normal?
It was less scary.
Less?
I was going to say, is that because you knew where things were coming from your previous playthrough?
It's because I knew where they were coming from, and also because by that point, I'd mastered the dodge. I was dodging everything. So if a hunter showed up, it didn't matter.
Wow. Fair dues. Because when I did my Inferno run for the Platinum, which obviously I had like unlimited weapons and shit, so it was a walk in the park, right? I just walked through a door, blast 20 rockets out from the rocket launcher, and then just run along, right? No bother at all. That part still scared the shit out of me. Because those hunters are just so crazy. And I love hunters anyway, they're just fucking awesome enemies. So I was cacking my pants on Inferno. So without unlimited ammo, good God, I would have soiled myself. No questions asked. Immediate soil myself.
After now completing it on hardcore, is this going to push you to the next level, Spence? Are you going to be playing it on Inferno?
Ooh, I mean, I'm definitely going to do it because I want the Platinum.
Davey, you said you used the rocket launcher to complete Inferno. Was that one of the DLCs that you could just download and kind of cheat your way through the game?
No, it's not like Resident Evil 2. So on Resident Evil 3, the way it works is you get points for doing certain activities, like killing so many enemies or using a weapon to kill so many enemies. You get these different bonuses, and you can cash in those points for items. So the quickest way to get the Platinum is there's one section in the game where there's like 100 zombies that kind of flood through, and you're Carlos defending Jill, who's sleeping at the time, or recovering. And you just grind that. You just play that area through like 50 times maybe, just with all different weapons. It's really fun though. I mean, it's just really fun using, it's not 50 times, it's probably about 10 times. But you just do that, get all your points, and then use those to cash in and buy the rocket launcher. Easy wins.
Is that in the hospital where they're climbing through the windows?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I know the part.
Yeah, so you just do that, and then you get enough points then to buy the unlimited rocket launcher, and then you're good to go. And then you just run through and just absolutely murk everything. You literally walk. It's like you're Arnie on Commando. You're literally just blowing everything apart. Like no one's a threat. Nemesis walking up to you, just give him a quick shot, run straight past. It's a breeze. It's an absolute breeze.
That's one thing I actually noticed. Even on hardcore, during my normal run, my first time playing the game, I never knocked down Nemesis once. Because I thought I'd just come off RE2 where Mr. X, you just can't hit him. So I just kind of played the same. But I found out even in hardcore, one frag grenade drops Nemesis. That's all it is. And then I get an upgrade from a gun. It's the only time I ever used frag grenades in the whole game was just to knock down Nemesis.
So you missed out all the drops on the first run through.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
Every single one.
Yeah, I'd say what's crazy is comparing that to Resident Evil 3, the original, fighting Nemesis is an absolute slog in that game. It's really worth it because you get upgrade parts for a shotgun and a pistol, if I remember rightly, but he just doesn't go down. He just does not go down. He literally uses like everything you've got. I mean, when you knock him down, he's like dead, pretty much. He like bleeds out all purple blood, and he falls down saying, "Stars." And then all this purple blood goes out, you get the little package, and then you're off. And then you're free to explore then for ages until the next kind of cutscene or something. But Jesus Christ, it's like a choice. You're like, okay, I've saved up for this. You're getting it. And then he's hard. Whereas on that game, on Resident Evil 3, it's just a way just to slow him down, isn't it? Just so you can progress. That's all it's for, really.
Yeah, but he's not... I never find he's really in the way. He's not like Mr. X. He's so like... He's a linear character rather than Mr. X just exploring the RPD. He only shows up at certain moments in certain areas. You can avoid him easily enough. You have a freaking dodge. He's not trouble.
Yeah, that's the only problem with their game, really, is that they kind of butchered him a little bit in the way he's done. Like, his boss fights are really, really good. And the way he's like kind of scripted in is great. That one section right at the start of the game where you're running through the city and he's kind of chasing you and he's on your ass is awesome. I love that. But that just doesn't happen again, does it? And that's kind of such a shame, really, for me.
Yeah, it's awesome, but he does look like just a giant trash bag.
I was going to say, would you really want to dress one up? And then I think about Mr. X, he's wearing a fucking top hat. You know, he's wearing a fedora.
Which you can shoot off.
Yeah.
Trophy.
And he's got a nice leather jacket and everything. Yeah, he's looking baller Whereas, yeah, they just chuck Nemesis out in a fucking bin bag. Here you go, mate. Here's a fucking bin bag. How does he even see? Right at the start.
Mate, he couldn't.
It's just fucking absolutely blind. Why isn't he just walking around just like with his tentacles fully extended? Just, well, I'm sure she lives here somewhere around here.
He's like you when you go to Asda to feel up the bottles. He's going around with his tentacles out, touching everything. He just goes on touch, mate.
Dear God, that's a terrifying image. Absolutely terrifying image. So, is that everything for you then, Spence? Have you been playing anything else?
Yeah, there's one more game I'll talk about now, and then obviously there's more a bit later on. But the other game I'll talk about at the minute, I've started, finally, because you all know, and all the listeners know, that I finally platinumed The Last of Us 1. Fucking yeah, I did. That's right, you heard me. Now, I've started The Last of Us 2 Platinum. Fucking, what a fucking sick game. All that criticism, all that nonsense, it's all fucking bullshit. If you've not played this game, play it for yourself, and then your opinion counts. I'm 6 hours into this Platinum run, playing it on hard plus, but I was a bit worried about not having enough upgrade materials, so I've got the loot on normal or medium, whatever it is, because you can set custom difficulties in this game. And then as soon as I'm max upgraded and I've got those trophies, I'm just going to turn it back to hard, because it's part of the fun is not having the ammo, because it makes you choose on how you approach situations. But fucking Last of Us 2, man. Last of Us 2, sick game. Such a phenomenal game.
When it comes to the trophies, is there anything in there that scares you?
Nothing.
It should just be a pretty much just play it through again and then you get the trophy, or is there a couple of different difficulties that you need to achieve?
No difficulties. If I wanted, I could play it on the easiest difficulty. Last of Us 1, even without the multiplayer trophies, Last of Us 1 was a harder platinum. Less time consuming, but harder.
Do you think that might have been a conscious choice after maybe some of the feedback they got from the first game?
I don't think so. I think the reason they've done it the way they have is just because of the length of the game. Whereas it would be a bit taxing and egregious if they made you do more difficulties. Because in Last of Us 1, you were supposed to play on every single difficulty. But there was a way to cheese it, really, which was just start a game on normal, and then you could start on Survivor Plus, and it'd unlock all of them.
I suppose if you skip all those cutscenes, the gameplay is probably about an hour, 2 hours in The Last of Us 2 that you could just skip through.
No.
Them's fighting words, mate. I tell you what, we got fucking Potato Chief on here now. Jesus Christ. I tell you what, I've nearly come to blows with Potato Chief for saying The Last of Us 2 was just a trash story.
He's feeding me lines now on Twitter.
Jesus Christ. Absolute nonsense. But yeah, Spence, I've done the platinum on Last of Us 2, so I can speak with you on this. It is a really easy platinum in terms of what you actually have to do. It's just a case of like finding all the collectibles. And that's pretty much about it, really, isn't it? It's just really that. It's just a collectible run.
It's literally find the collectibles, fully upgrade yourself and your weapons, platinum.
Yeah. But for me, I did it straight after each other. So I literally finished the game, took a couple of days break to try and emotionally calm myself down because I was a mess after that game, and then did it again. And I didn't enjoy it as much on the second time just because it kind of felt like a little bit of a slog in a certain way because I'd only just played it. But I have got a really big craving to go back and play Last of Us 2. And now the good thing about it is it's quite freeing because the next time I play it will just be for me. So I can put it onto grounded difficulty, I can put it on like some kind of permadeath setting and just play it and just experience that tension and fear without having to do anything else. You know, I could just invest myself in the story in the game again.
Davey, you're a platinum hunter though. And now you're saying if you got to experience the game and not worry about the trophies, you would get a better experience.
Yeah, I probably would right now. Yeah. But when I'm playing a game that's got trophies there that I can get, that is an extra sweetener to it. So my first time I play a game, sure, I'll look at the trophy list. I'll have a look, see what's going on, see what the crack is, see if it's actually an unrealistic platinum. And that sets my stage then for what I'm going to do. And then for that first playthrough, I do not check the trophies. I just enjoy it. I just play it through, have a normal experience, and then second run then is when shit gets real. That's when we're looking at the menu every 5 minutes. We're checking what trophies are, what are the requirements, what do I have to kind of set up with the enemy AI to make sure I get this achievement. And that's different. But that first playthrough is a pretty pure experience, to be honest.
Fair enough. That makes complete sense. Do you have your laptop next to you and you're following a guide the second time you play through, or do you know the game generally well enough to be able to get the platinum, or is it game dependent?
Definitely game dependent for me. I don't know about yourself, Spence.
For Last of Us 2, 100% watching a video walkthrough for the collectibles. They're freaking... When you first go to... well, I can spoil Last of Us 2, can't I?
No.
Well, there's a certain bit you shouldn't spoil.
Alright, well, when you first travel, I'll say, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's really vague. I don't know what that means.
Well, if I can't spoil it, it's going to have to be vague, innit?
Yeah. I played the game. I don't know.
The first day of traveling, yeah.
Listen, he's doing these weird kind of like almost rapey eyes. You know, like a magician, when you see him on stage and they do a trick and it goes really well and all the kids are going mental, popping off, and they give this look to all the parents like, oh yeah, I'm the shit. Yeah. It's those kind of eyes.
You know he's Darren Brown in us. In reality, me and Davey are walking around our rooms, pecking like chickens at the moment and thinking it's all going brilliant. And then Spencer will snap his fingers, we'll wait back up and go on to the next game he's been playing.
Exactly. But yeah, video walkthrough, that first area that I'm talking about, that I can't describe, has like 50 collectibles in it alone.
Wow.
And that's one chapter out of like 46. So I'm watching a walkthrough.
Yeah.
100% watching a walkthrough.
Yeah, for anything that's like collectibles, definitely using a walkthrough guide for that. If it's something that's just quite straightforward, like for example, if it's like kill 3 enemies with 1 grenade or anything like that, those kind of like misc trophies they always put in. For that, I'll generally know where a good place is based on the game that I've already played. So I'll kind of know when I want to kind of grind that out. But yeah, generally I don't use a guide for anything other than collectibles.
But that's pretty much it for me, boys. That's what I've been playing. Phil, mate, give us the details.
Well, Spencer, after your comment on the last show about me not playing very many PlayStation games, I pulled my finger out. I've been constantly on my PlayStation over the last 2 weeks. I've even been playing it on lunch at work.
Let's go.
Been playing for that hour. I thought, eat my sandwich real quick, and I'm straight on. And I've been playing a little bit of PlayStation 4, a little bit of PlayStation 5. I've dug in. I've gone back to God of War, picked it up, and it seems quite apt to start going back to that game after the announcements, which we'll talk about later in the show. I'm up to the point where I've got my Blades of Chaos.
Nice.
Which I feel super overpowered now. I've done the epic battle on the back of the dragon with Balder, and I'm currently trying to escape Helmir on the boat. That's currently where I am.
You've got really far.
I kind of feel like I'm near the end of the game.
Jesus Christ, dude. You've got so much further than
I
the
told
last
you,
time.
I've been playing a lot.
Wow, well done. Honestly, Spence, you've worked fucking magic here, mate. Imagine how quickly you would have got Ratchet done if you'd given him this comment like 4 episodes ago.
What can I say? I respond to criticism.
So, the last time we actually spoke about God of War in any real depth was probably about like 15 odd episodes ago. It was ages ago since we last really, really covered it. Now that you've done quite a bit more, and obviously the part you're at, there's been a lot of story that's happened, especially with Atreus and Kratos and kind of their relationship and their dynamic changing over the course of the game. How are you finding it now? Have your thoughts improved on it, or are they still kind of middling?
Atreus is a bitch now. Like, I used to love Atreus. Atreus used to be my boy, so I used to send Atreus straight forward, and he basically shot everybody before they even got to Kratos. I didn't do any hand-to-hand combat. I was basically doing all the range stuff. So I was playing a game a bit twisted. But now I've obviously swapped the roles around to the way they're properly meant to be with the Blades of Chaos, because Kratos is very, very strong now with all the upgrades. But story-wise, I'm still not really feeling it. I don't think this is an IP I've ever really loved. But I can totally understand why people, are fanatical about this game, because it is very, very good. And I definitely, we'll see. We'll talk about it later anyway. But I'm interested in the series now. A little more than I was previously.
Well, that's a big deal, because you were... I remember when we played God of War 3 back in the day, when it came out, I was so hyped on it.
We went to Asda together to pick it up on launch day.
literally every single person I'd speak to, I'd be like, yo, you played God of War 3 yet? And they're like, no. And I'm like, just wait. Just wait. Oh my God. I was popping off, right? I was going mental. They'd be like people in work, like an old lady would come in. She'd be like, oh, how's your day been? I'd be like, yo, played God of War 3. Literally everyone was getting it. It must have been a really annoying 6 months.
I love to think that's how you greet your customers. Yo, I'm playing God of War.
This was like what? How long ago did God of War 3 come out? This was a long time ago. So I was in my youth then. Obviously, I'm still in my prime now, but I was approaching the prime then at that point.
But you were probably still recovering from one of my parties.
Yeah, that's probably
at
right.
That time, probably.
It was 16th of March, 2010.
There you go. So it's been 11 years. 11 years ago. So I was but a young pup back then, at a tender age of... how old am I now? Good God. I was
32, you are.
Yeah, Jesus. So I was 21.
I was 12, mate.
Phil was 54.
Christ.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, madness. But yeah, you were so against it. You hated that game. You really just didn't vibe with you at all, did it? So seeing this kind of turnaround on the franchise, that's big praise. That's a big surprise, actually.
Well, it's moved from my sort of negative view of this game to somewhere in the middle. Call it a 5 out of 10 at the moment, but we'll see when I finish it.
Fair. So is that everything for you? Obviously, with this whole tirade of gameplay that you've never had on this podcast before. Obviously, your League of Legends career now is probably in the dirt because of this time off. All those lessons
I'm down
wasted.
to iron now.
Oh no!
I'm not. That's the reason I'm playing PlayStation. I got so frustrated with League. That's the real reason.
Jesus.
No, I've also been playing a couple other games. I've joined you guys for a little Bloodborne session. This was my first taste of the Souls games. So another game you're introducing me to. So I took control of my hunter and played maybe 2 to 3 hours, I think it was, that we played on the evening. I think it was. Yeah. Interesting game. I've never played anything like it. But definitely when you sort of break it down, it does feel like a roguelike to me. I know every game feels like a roguelike to me. But if you definitely break down each enemy encounter, it does feel like you've got to learn the systems to the enemies to be able to progress past them. And then you get further and further. And of course, then when you die, you've got to go right back to the start, which is eternally frustrating. And yes, I got caught in that loop. And yes, I was annoyed at the game.
How far did you get, mate?
So we got right up to I believe the boss is called the Cleric Beast. I sort of had a go at him with the Molotovs and horribly failed the first one. And then I was blessed with a bit of help from one of my co-hosts. And he took me past the boss, which was very helpful because I don't think I would have got past him. And yeah, I'd be up for playing again with you boys because I now have the Bell of Summoning. Is that the name of it? I don't know. That weird little thing to be able to bring you into my game. So I'm up for playing a bit more of Bloodborne.
It was really interesting seeing you play it, to be honest. And I mean, I'll totally skate past your theory of calling Bloodborne a roguelike because it's certainly nothing like a roguelike at all. In fact, with your very loose definition of a roguelike, pretty much every game that involves some kind of learning is a roguelike. So pretty much everything, unless you breeze through it in one go without any deaths, it's a roguelike in Phil's eyes.
Mario was roguelike. I've told you a million times.
Jesus Christ. Oh dear God. So I'll skate past that. I don't want to get into that. So with this game, it's one of those games from the past generation that's regarded as one of the best on the system. One of the best on the PlayStation 4. Highly regarded, especially amongst the exclusives anyway. Can you see why people would be kind of interested in this? Obviously with like the aesthetic being like kind of a gothic Lovecraftian theme and the way that combat works in the game. Can you see kind of why this would have such an appeal on people? Or does it all seem a little bit kind of just basic to you at the minute?
I'm not sure I'm deep enough into the game, or I've got frustrated enough to love it. Because I think it's one of the games that you learn to hate first, and then you probably come back round to loving it once you conquer that hate. And I think if I didn't have your help on the Cleric Beast, I think I would have been at that point. So if I start playing it a bit more, and you boys are welcome to sort of join, I think I'll start to enjoy the game a bit more. But at the start, I felt a lot under pressure, and I'm sure Spence is going to feel it when he starts playing Death Stranding, because we both heavily love the game, and he's brand new to the series. There was a lot of pressure on these shoulders to like it. So once I get into it a bit more and play it and experience it in my own time, I feel like I might learn to love it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be one of those things that with any Souls game, it just beats you down until you adapt and you learn. And I think you kind of do need to go through that on your own. The Cleric Beast's a bit of a dickhead of a boss, to be honest with you. It's not always regarded as the first boss. There's another boss that you'll get to very shortly from where you are now, called Father Gascoigne, and that's where a lot of players have their first boss encounter. So that one I'm definitely going to leave you to do solo, because I think that boss will be the moment where you either stick with it or you quit. That'd be it.
I'm up for the challenge, and considering the games I've played over the last 2 weeks, I'm ticking off those, top 10 games of all time on PlayStation that people love, aren't I? Bloodborne and God of War.
Yeah.
These are 2 games I've just totally missed because I just wasn't interested in them at the time. But now I'm going back to them and I can appreciate them so far.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. I'm really looking forward to see how you progress with that, definitely.
I've been playing another 2 games. One of them I know we've all been playing, not together, but individually, and we'll talk about that a little later. But I've got a bit of an announcement for you boys.
Oh,
a little bit of a sneaky surprise.
Go on, mate.
So, I hate platinums.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, you haven't.
I've got my 8th platinum.
Oh!
I managed to platinum Ratchet & Clank A Rifts Apart. I thought this was the time to platinum a game, because I think I had like 80% or whatever already, right? And it wasn't very hard to get this platinum. So I thought, you know what? We'll spend a bit of time and we'll just go through it and get that platinum. And it feels good. It feels good to have 8 platinums, right?
One of us. I
don't feel like I'm one of you just yet, because I'm only 8. I'm only single figures. But I'll read off some of the platinums I've got. And I don't think they're a bullshit list. I think they're genuine platinums about games I really like, okay?
Go on.
So we've got Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. We've got Death Stranding. We've got Horizon Zero Dawn. We've got Spider-Man. We've got Transformers Fall of Cybertron. We've got Ratchet & Clank Full Frontal Assault, so a bit of a blast from the past. We've got RE5, can mention it now, still at the start of the podcast, and Little Big Planet. So I think all those platinums are pretty big. There's no bullshit there.
That's a strong list, that is. That is a meaty, nice list, that is. That's lovely.
That's really nice. Really nice.
Spencer, before you say
stop,
to yourself...
Stop.
You ain't going in. No, I don't want to hear it.
Stop. Just stop.
No.
We don't need to talk about it.
No.
It's fine.
No, don't want to hear it. Oh, mate,
I've got some good platinums.
That's fantastic, that is. I'm glad you did it. It would have been such a waste to have just left it where it was. And I mean, I had the theory last time when you were on about grinding at the gold cup. I thought, he's definitely going to do it. I knew it. I'm glad you kind of let into it and just thought, you know what, fuck it. I just want to earn this. And I'm glad it felt good, because it does feel damn good.
Well, it took me slightly longer than I thought it was going to take me, to be honest. I might have had it done last episode if it had been a quicker grind. But there was a few ones that, as you said, with the repulsor gun, where you're blasting kind of things back, that was a bit of a pain in the arse to get. And then, of course, collecting those little teddy bears. I didn't collect one in the game.
Didn't you?
Oh, really?
Just totally missed them. I'm really oblivious to things happening in games. I just seem to just plow forward and just go for the story, really. So all those little collectibles, I didn't pick up one. So I had to go back to every level and pick up those.
Oh, I only missed one on my playthrough, so I didn't have. I pulled up a collectible guide for that, and just sort of just one. So it took me like no time at all to pick that one off. But I can imagine that would be a pain in the arse. Yeah,
a little bit, and hitting those crystals as well. I think I missed a few of those. So those were the 3 that took a little bit of time to figure out, because it's not obvious which one you've hit. And I think there's like 29 different crystals over the 2 planets. So you basically just have to replay the level again to go through everything. Yeah, those little PlayStation cards, they're not as helpful as they make out they're going to be.
It depends.
I disagree. For that game especially, I strongly disagree. I thought the cards were phenomenal.
They didn't help me on those trophies I'm talking about.
I exclusively used those. I didn't use a collectible guide or any online help other than those cards. And those cards just straight from start of the game to platinum at the end. Other than, like you said, the repulsor gun, because that gun was fucking stupid.
But for me, like, I've never really hunted for trophies very often before. And especially on PlayStation 5, it was a new experience for me. So I thought I'd look into it a little bit so I can report back on the podcast. So, platinum number 8, guys. Feels good. Who knows what number 9 will be? Maybe director's cut of Death Stranding. Well, it might be Miles Morales. Kind of earning to go back to that. I feel like I should go back to that.
It's literally one playthrough. That's all you need to do.
That's pretty much it, yeah. And it would just be the story. No side quests. I think I completed them all.
Platinum number 9, baby.
I'm not foreshadowing next episode, but potentially. We'll see.
Nah, you are.
Anyway.
I feel it in my groin.
Anyway, so those are my games. I've got one more, and we'll talk about it a little later because we've all been playing it. Davey, what have you been playing solo, mate?
Yeah, so remember last episode I talked all about Subnautica, and I said that I bought the sequel, Subnautica Below Zero. Well, I got it, and I platinumed it, all in the space of about 3 or 4 play sessions. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Now, you may think to yourself, listener, how much time has Davey got in a week to be able to platinum another 35-odd hour game? It only took about 15 hours. It's a much shorter experience than the first one, but still, thoroughly recommend it.
The Subnautica series, that was a recommendation from a listener, wasn't it? If I remember rightly. Because it was a game that we all missed.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was... I can't remember who wrote in now, so apologies for me forgetting, but yeah, a listener originally wrote in and recommended that we try it, and that it was free as part of the summer play event or whatever, where we got those 3 games back in like July or whatever. And so I did, and I just became hooked, and now I'm just an addict. God, I wish there was more. I wish there was more games in this series because it was excellent. But yeah, basically, just to fill you guys in, what it is this time is you're still landing on like a water planet, but it's an ice planet. So it's like all sub-zero temperatures. So you're managing an extra bar, which is your temperature gauge, which when you're in the water doesn't really matter. But when you're outside on land, because there's land sections now, you have to worry about that. And so it adds like an extra gameplay mechanic in that. But what they've done is they've added some nice gameplay features to really cut down your time and to cut down the amount of backtracking you have to do, which is quite nice and welcome. And the game is a lot more streamlined in where you need to go. It's not I'm trying to do this without spoiling it really, but in the original Subnautica, you kind of just land on a planet and then you just figure it out on your own. And you read files and you kind of get the occasional radio signal which will point you in a direction, but nothing more than that. And you kind of free roam and explore. And that's when you find the next thing and you kind of stumble upon it. This game, it feels a lot more hand-holdy. And that's why I was able to cut down the time of me playing it by like 20 odd hours.
What sort of genre is Subnautica? Is it a roguelike?
It's No. Weirdly enough, Phil, there's more genres than just roguelike. It's roguelike and rhythm game. That's all Phil knows, I think.
Wait until I play it, mate.
I'm sure you'll find some reason to say it is that. But, there's death, and then when you die, you respawn at a point that you've been to before, so I guess that's a roguelike, right? But yeah, it's just a survival game, and it's great. It's excellent. I think if you can pick it up for like 30 odd quid, or even less than that, I picked up for like 20, that's a steal. Those 15 hours were a joy. It's brilliant. Everyone check it out. Not as good as the first game. It's really not. Just because those elements of exploration that have been removed because of how structured it is, does kind of take away a bit of the mystique that the first one had. So it does kind of unintentionally ruin it, but the story is a lot better than the first. It's a lot more narrative driven. And it's excellent. Thoroughly recommend it. We love ratings on the show. Going to give it a solid 8 out of 10. But lads, that's everything I've been playing solo. But there are a number of games that we've all been playing together. So the first one happened just before we went to record this. Spencer, you and me managed to get a code into the closed COD beta, which is happening this weekend before it goes open beta for everyone else next weekend. What are your thoughts on it?
I will say, since getting the code, I've had nothing but a big ass smile on my face. I fucking love Call of Duty. This game seems phenomenal. We only played for maybe an hour and a half, and I do have issues with it already. But the game, like the gameplay wise, it feels nice. You kill and you die really fast, but that makes sense. It makes sense for the time. It makes sense because you're fucking getting shot with a gun, man. Warzone and stuff, you get shot 50 times, you're alive. This makes sense. It feels good. But my issues with it, the spawns right now are absolutely dog shit atrocious. It will spawn you wherever the fuck it wants. You can die, and because it loads so fast, it respawns you immediately exactly where you died. So you just die again. Or it could spawn you in front of enemy fire somewhere. Behind enemies, give you a bit of an advantage if it wants, if you're lucky enough. Maybe spawn you fucking away from everyone. And then you'll never see anyone. And then when you do, there's 6 of them. Because they all spawn together.
It's a bit of a mess, isn't it, at the moment with that? Obviously, this is just stuff that on the closed beta and the open beta, this is the point of it, isn't it? So you can get these systems under wraps so that when the game launches, it's going to be, hopefully, a polished product. And to be fair, we sound like evangelists for COD at the moment because of how much we're kind of hyping it up. But when we played Cold War last year, it worked straight out the box, didn't it? Which is more than you can say for most online games. Most games with like a multiplayer component is fucked. You know, parties don't work. Voice chat might be a bit buggy if using in-game voice chat. Crossplay is not enabled. Shit like that. Whereas COD normally do a pretty good job, and I think most of it's down to these closed betas and alphas and things like that to make it kind of a relatively seamless experience.
And partly down to the huge budget they have.
That's probably got something to do with it, yeah.
Something to do with
and
it.
like the 6
Money.
teams that work on it, yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
tiny bit, maybe. But
Well,
yeah,
Spence is playtesting it, isn't he? So, his feedback is always welcome.
that's true. And I suppose, Spence, any bugs on this so far? Obviously, you run into a bug every 5 minutes on your PlayStation.
The Bug Hunter. Maybe we should have a new section of the show. You know, like Steve Irwin? He was like the hunter, wasn't he? Now, Spencer can be like the Bug Hunter.
It's a shit name. I'm not gonna lie. I'd be fuming if I was called the Bug Hunter. It's apt. It is very apt. But shit.
It's a work in progress.
I actually did mention I had a bug earlier. I had a bug in Last of Us 2, but I won't even mention it because it pissed me off.
Bug Hunter.
Get that jingle ready for next episode, please.
So, it's my fucking edit. I'm like making myself a Bug Hunter jingle.
You gotta laugh at yourself, mate. It's fun. It's fine.
No, not really any bugs. I've had one. There was one more issue I have with the game, and I guess it's kind of a bug, or it's probably unintended. But there's a thing you control, called, what was it called again, Davey? The little tank thing.
Fuck knows. Mine. I accidentally put it down on top of a dining room table, and I couldn't get it off. It's a giant little fucking tank, right? Like massive. And I spawned it, and it just landed on top of a dining table, and there's no way to get off from that dining table. So it just ran, going forward onto the edge of the dining table, and then exploded and killed me.
Bug Hunter.
It was insane. I was like, oh. And I was like, oh, was my own fault for putting it next to a dining table. But it's a fucking tank. Like, I'm running through a wall in that game. There's a wooden wall. You just sprint through it. You just like, fuck destructible environments. Yeet. Straight through like the fucking Kool-Aid man. But you put a fucking tank on a dining room table, and that thing is definitely not IKEA. That's a solid wood table, because that tank was not going anywhere through it. It was a top quality table. I gotta say, I gotta find out where they got it from. But that's the only bug I've kind of experienced. But you're right, the spawns and stuff are an absolute fucking mess. But one thing I do love about this game, obviously the triggers and the haptics are fucking amazing on this. Just like they were in Cold War, they feel so good. Especially on, I love like big machine guns. Like massive, like light machine guns, really slow to use, but just like 100 bullets in a magazine. And just kind of like shut down an area just by spraying. And good God, they feel incredible pulling that up and feeling the tension in the triggers and just feeling the fucking haptics while you're just letting off like 100-round clip. Oh, love it. And the grenades, I've never felt anything more visceral in my life. Those grenades they're like little mini nukes. They literally, you can like almost feel them through it. They feel so, there's something about it. Don't know what they've done, but it's just like the best feeling grenade I've ever experienced. It just feels crazy.
I think I know exactly what they've done with it, and it's the reason why I'm throwing grenades and they're not going where I'm used to them going, because in every COD game it's more or less been the same trajectory and stuff. But when you throw a grenade in this game, I think there's just more camera shake than it's ever been. And it kind of adds a more visceral feeling to it. It feels like you're proper putting in, like swinging with your arm when you're chucking that grenade. But really, it's the same throw. But it just feels better because you're looking at it. For the adaptive triggers and such, for me, the haptics were really nice. Adaptive triggers, very similar to Cold War, they were a lot more subtle than they were. But it's nice. It is nice because they were strong in Cold War. You proper had the pull. If you had a heavy LMG or a heavy sniper rifle, aiming down in Cold War, it was a bit of effort. It was like a little finger workout. Misses would be buzzing. But it's freaking in this game, it's nowhere near as bad.
So what are we thinking then? We still day one on this?
Yeah. You're stupid. Yeah.
Yeah.
This beta has Champion Hill and we haven't even played it yet.
True. Yeah, true. I mean, we're living on Krakatoa right there. We're so cracked. We've set up shop top of Krakatoa. That is just our place, right? That's just where we live. We'll go check that out pretty soon, I'm sure. Phil, the open beta is next week. You going to join us on this?
I've never really been, a huge player of like COD. Apart from, I think, Modern Warfare 2. I think that was probably the last one I actually put any time into. But considering the uptake in big titles that most people seem to like on PlayStation, I should be in for this, shouldn't I?
It's definitely one that you should give a go, I think, with an open beta, and then you'll know whether or not it's for you. I think that's the perfect chance to try it and just see. And, you'll get your ass kicked, but we all will. Until you learn the maps and stuff. I mean, well, you will, we won't. But you can be a good human shield.
It might be a good use for my PS Plus, because I've got no value out of that so far.
What the fuck do you mean, you cheeky
What a scumbag. There's one more game that we need to talk about. It was my most anticipated game of the entire year. We've all bought it. We've all played it. Boys, give me your thoughts on Fist.
I think I've played probably about 4 hours. I've just got to... I've just got past the really weird lift section, and I was super frustrated at that. Where you've got to kind of like hop on the side of the lift as it's going up, and you can't stand on the top because the sensors will see you.
You found that difficult, did you?
I found that really difficult, yeah.
Oh, I thought that was fine. I think the thing that I've kind of struggled with more is kind of learning how the combat works and what my limitations are and my resource management with it. That's what I've struggled more so than the platforming aspect of it.
I'm literally, Phil, mate, I'm in the exact same area. Okay. We're neck and neck.
There we go.
Neck and neck. I may be a tiny bit further, but if I am, it's like 5 minutes ago.
Oh, I've met the rat guy.
The Duke.
Oh, the Duke. So I'm slightly further than you then. Yeah.
Yeah, probably slightly further. But that little section with the lifts, it looked harder than it was, I think. I thought it was quite easy. If you dash into a lift, it just keeps you in place on the thing. And I've figured that out right away, and then I just flew for it. It was a bit cheesy and sounded horrible. I'm enjoying the game, not as much as I thought I would, which I'm a bit sad about, but it is only a £25 game. So it's definitely good for that price and almost meeting expectations.
I'm really enjoying like the visual style of it. I love it. I think it looks like Oddworld Soulstorm, like visually. I think it's that same kind of like, same look and feel to the game. But obviously the combat is very, very different. It is a Metroidvania. I'd probably describe it as a roguelike, but it's definitely not a roguelike. But it is a great game so far after my 4 hours. And I'm on the PlayStation a lot trying to get through these levels, but they are ultimately frustrating me.
I tell you what, guys, if we'd done this podcast before the PlayStation I had today, I would have had a totally different thing to say about this game, because I was mega frustrated in how the game handles its combat, in the way the parry system worked, in the way that kind of everything felt like as if it was half-baked. So combat-wise, I had real issues with how little meter I had to work with for my special moves, and my lack of data discs, which you need, listener, to be able to unlock more skills or higher level skills. I wasn't finding any, and I've explored literally everything. I'm constantly in the map screen, constantly going around exploring all the different holes, all the different places you can get to, breaking down walls, finding stuff. I just wasn't finding them. This last play session, I've found an absolutely shed load. It seems like as if all the section up to where Phil and Spence are is teaching you the basics, and now it's taking it into overdrive. Now I've got the ability to do a full parry at any point I want to, just by timing it like a third strike parry, and that has changed how combat works entirely. Gives you free bars back, gives you bars back so you can do more special moves, and now my combos are going for ages. I'm able to get combos where I'm able to take people up into the sky, get like 20 odd hits, smash them back down, lift somebody else up. It's totally opened up everything, and it feels phenomenal.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people sort of describe the combat as being somewhere in between Devil May Cry and Marvel vs. Capcom, in the sense that you can juggle people a lot in the game. And up to the point me and Spencer are, didn't really feel that, but I'm glad to hear that the combat does open up.
Yeah, definitely. It completely changes. It's like night and day. To me, it feels like Guacamelee. It feels exactly like Guacamelee combat, especially when you get these special moves that you'll unlock more and more with data discs. It really does open itself up and really start flexing its legs. I'm just hoping that I've got quite a bit of runtime left. The game says I'm only like 25% of the way through, so I imagine I do, but we'll have to see how much that percentage increases with finding extra collectibles.
But is that 25% of the story, or is that 25% of the map that you've explored? Because I know in Castlevania they probably like kind of quantify it slightly different, don't they? Yeah,
it's going to be on total completion in terms of map and collectible pickups. That's how it's going to be based. So story, you'd probably wrap the game and have about 30-40% done. But I feel like the story's really building now where I am, but I don't feel like it's anywhere near the end. So if I'm at the halfway point, I'll be surprised. But I'll definitely have it finished by the next episode.
Have you got all parts of your fist?
No. So I've got
I
got 2 main weapons. I got 3 sub weapons. So I got like obviously the carrot juice for heals, the little gun that you shoot, explosive
and the block weapon.
Yeah, and the parry thing.
Yeah.
I got that. And now in terms of like upgrading my health, I've upgraded my health through 3 times now. And I've upgraded my SP and EP, which is your the one you use for special moves and the one you use for your kind of resource, like your carrot juice and getting your health back and stuff like that. I've upgraded that meter as well. So I've done done quite a lot now in terms of exploring and looking around. Listener, if you're into games like Castlevania or Guacamelee, especially Guacamelee, pick this up. If Guacamelee didn't suit you, if you didn't like it, didn't like how it controlled, didn't like how it felt, or how the combo system worked, you will not like Fist. Because it is very, very, very similar. The only critique I still have with this game, I don't like how the story's being delivered. I don't like these text boxes that come up that is like so much quicker just to read the text and just skip through and not listen to any of the dialogue. I wish it was done with a little bit more of a budget so that maybe they could be either acted out or maybe changed to be just radio logs. Someone just phoning you and you could just be listening to it as you're exploring. I think that would have worked a little bit better rather than it be stopping you in your tracks, 6 speech bubbles to go through, and then you move on to the next thing. I just find it a little bit clunky.
It could have gone that way, though, couldn't it? Because you do have that bear, don't remember his name, and then you do have the radio system as well, don't you? So he could be like narrating it almost throughout the game if they had chosen to go that way.
Yeah, I think that would have really... That's the only thing that I'm kind of struggling with a little bit, is that part of it. I just don't think that works quite well.
It's old school, isn't it? That's how it feels to me.
It is, yeah, definitely feels more old school. I mean, Spence, do you have any issues with this game at all? You haven't really spoke too much on it yet.
Yeah, well, like you said with combat and such, I do have issues with combat. It doesn't feel as like fluid and creative as I want it to. It's kind of like dead set combos. You do it and then it just resets. But I'm putting that down at the moment to me not being very, very far into the game. I'm still optimistic the combat's going to get better, and I think it will. I completely agree with you on the story delivery. The way the cutscenes work and the way the transitions happen, the speech bubbles, which you're completely right. It's just so much faster to read than listen. I literally haven't listened to a single voice line in its entirety. Because why would I? When I've already read it, I'm not going to sit there and listen to it when I already know what they're going to say.
They are delivered pretty well, though. Like, the voice actors are great. I really enjoy listening to them, to be honest. But I can see what you mean about them being very slow. Because you read it and then you are kind of listening to them afterwards. But the voice actors are very good in this. It's not after Davey's Twisted Soul video on YouTube. It's not that level.
No, the delivery's great. the delivery is superb, and all the voice acting, even for like minor characters, is done really, really well. I gotta give them that. It's just a shame, really, that it's just presented in such a dumbass, basic way when the rest of the game looks so beautiful. I think the art style, like you said, Phil, totally on board with that. I think it looks stunning to me.
Mm. But they had to make a cut at some stage, didn't they, to keep the budget down? So it's just had to be the story delivery, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is what it is. I am enjoying the game. It's worth the money, depending on how long it is. That's not depending on how long. Depending on how good it stays, I suppose, and how much better it gets. But like I said earlier, I'm not enjoying it as much as I wanted to. I'm hoping that changes. Sincerely hoping it changes. What do you boys rate it so far?
Right now, knowing what I know now, I'd rate it a solid 8 out of 10 so far. I think with the combat and it gradually building, I got a lot more skills to unlock. I got probably 5. I got 5 more for my fist left unlocked, maybe 3. And then a handful for the umbrella, and then I don't even know what the last weapon is. It could be a case that I figure out some really nuts ass combo. You know, there's a lot of like pickups from the ground. So like Marvel, there's a lot of like you dash someone on the ground, you do a pickup move, and then you just carry on the combo. There's a lot of that. Smash them into the ground, get a rejuggle. There's a lot of that built into it. So as soon as I optimize some of these combos, and there's a training mode which I found now. And I didn't have the skills necessary to be able to do the training mode. I didn't have the required skill unlocks. I think I'm going to have a lot more fun with it. And I think it's only going to get more positive than it is right now. But right now, I'd probably go in for solid 8 out of 10. What about yourself, Spence?
6 out of 10. And not a high 6.
I think that will all change if you give it a little bit more time.
After what you've said, Davey, tonight, I'm super excited to get back to it. If I wasn't doing the podcast right now, I'd be playing Fist. I'd be downstairs on my PlayStation right now playing that game. I'm super hyped for the game. So, you know, I'm at a high 8. I'm not going to go down and break down to like decimal points here, but I'm a high 8 with this game, definitely. Really, really enjoying it. But the question is it going to sustain my interest when Deathloop turns up on Tuesday next week? Because I have pre-ordered it. I know, Davey, you've done it as well.
Yeah, Deathloop is on the way. I've had shipping confirmation. I've ordered it from the game collection. This is my first time of trying them for a pre-order. So I'm very hopeful that I'm going to get it a day earlier on Monday. The only thing is, I'm not going to be touching it until I'm done with Fist. Fist is definitely a game that you need to play, I think, especially when it comes to this combat. You do not want to get rusty on this combat because it's getting pretty nutty where I am now. So you need to be hot fire on it. But yeah, so for me, even if it comes a day earlier, that's an extra point in Game Collection's backlog, and I'll trust them ongoing for the future. And I'll avoid the all-digital future that I was predicting myself having to do. But I'm still not going to play it. I'm not gonna play it until I'm done with Fist.
What happens? I open up Deathloop and I absolutely love it. And I'm there on Messenger telling you how great Deathloop is. Are you not going to spend an hour in the game?
No, I'm not. I'm going to do what I've done now with Subnautica, which was finish Subnautica, start Fist. And literally, the difference is between you and me, Phil, I'll have Fist done by tomorrow. I'm putting tomorrow aside. I'm getting it done tomorrow.
Okay, listeners, you've heard it here. Davey's he's going to get Fist done before Deathloop turns up, and if it takes him longer and Deathloop turns up, he's not going to switch gears and go straight to Deathloop. But we'll see in 2 weeks' time what happens there.
Quick news.
Quick news. The Death Stranding Director's Cut trailer is out, so head over to Kojima-san's YouTube for the 4K trailer. You don't want to miss this one, guys.
Quick news. Sony Interactive Entertainment has acquired a new studio. A new studio has joined the PlayStation family, Firesprite Games. Now, Firesprite Games, for those that don't know, are made up of ex-Studio Liverpool devs, which means we could have a new Wipeout on the horizon. Stay tuned for more information. I'm sure we'll hear what they're up to soon.
Quick news.
I think it's funny.
That was a good one. I like how you moved from one side of the mic to the other as well.
Abandoned has been delayed into 2022 with no specific release window. Following the botched rollout of the Experience app, it's no surprise it joined the likes of Gran Turismo, God of War, and Horizon by bumping till next year.
So following that piece of news, I think we've got a rumour.
Kick it! You wake up with a rumour and you don't want to go. You ask if it's confirmed and they still say no.
So boys, for some reason, the rumour is Sony's PlayStation 5 Pro. And that is rumoured for late 2023 to 2024 with pricing of up to $700, which is probably about 600, 580 Great British pounds, quid, 4K, 8K, all that nonsense. What do you boys think of this rumour? Do you think it's tangible or anything? Do you think it's too fucking soon for a Pro, which it is in my opinion? What are your thoughts?
It's natural progression. We're going to get one, but yeah, it seems too soon. And who's got an 8K TV? What's the point?
I'm calling a big, fat, stinking pile of bullshit on this. I think this is nonsense. There's definitely going to be a PS5 Pro. But just think about it, just for a moment. We've got PSVR 2 coming out whenever, probably like end of next year, maybe 2023. We've just seen about games that are coming out around that time. We're not even at the 1 year fucking anniversary for the PS5. Why are we even talking about this now? Let's talk about this when we've actually got something going on. Not some absolute bollocks. I saw about 50 rumours, which are apparently dead certs confirmed for the PlayStation Showcase, and none of them happened. So, no way in hell is this anything to be trusted. No chance. Big pile of shit.
Just done a quick Google, turns out the base model of the PS4 launched in November 2013. The Pro wasn't released till November 2016, so that's 3 years gap. So yeah, way too soon for PS5 Pro, I believe.
Talk about a 7-year lifespan for a console typically. I mean, the PlayStation 4 now with, God of War and GT getting new legs next year. I mean, it's going to be a fucking 50-odd year gap before they fully cut it off, I swear to God. But there's no chance. There's no chance. 2023, no chance. 2024, maybe. I could probably see that being true, to be honest with you, 2024. But don't trust any of this shit now. Leave it at 18 months. Then if we start hearing rumours, they're probably to be believed. This soon, no chance.
Mate, I literally have, 3 or 4 major titles on PS5 so far. There hasn't been enough games, and I'm still getting blown away with what the base PS5 can do. Why do we even need to care about a PS5 Pro?
Couldn't agree more. I agree, 2024, 2023 is way too soon. But I'm going to ask you both an important question. If this rumour is true, do you buy one at launch?
No.
No.
If I follow the same kind of trajectory I took with the PlayStation 4 and PS4 Pro, I waited until I had a massive game that I thought would benefit from that Pro upgrade. So for me, that was God of War. God of War was the one that made me go in. I bought a white PlayStation 4 Pro with God of War, brought them home, played it, never looked back. Loved my Pro, still got it upstairs, fantastic piece of kit. But it needs to have the game there to really make you want to upgrade. And at the moment, we can't even see what the PlayStation 5 can do on its own because it's being held back by PS4. So there's no rush for this. I'll definitely reevaluate my position in 4 years' time. And in 4 years' time, I'm sure I'm going to be desperate for a new bit of kit because the PS5 will feel like something I've always had by that point. But it still feels relatively new to me. And I still get a little smile on my face just hearing that ding, 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 ding when it boots up. So until that goes and that fades and this becomes something that I don't even care about the haptics, that's just something that I'm used to all the time. I'm in no need to push it any further. And as you said, Phil, 8K. Come on. No one's going to be using 8K in 3 years' time. No one. it's going to be still mad expensive. 4K is still pretty expensive if you want to get a good refresh rate and stuff. There's no.
For me, I didn't even buy a PS4 Pro, but I wasn't in the financial situation I am now. People that follow me on Twitter, I have recently just got a new job, so probably I'll be suckered in and I'll buy it day one. Hell, I'll buy anything PlayStation are selling these days. If PS Vita 2 comes out, like my prediction was for this recent conference, if that came out, I'd be day one with that as well, mate.
For me, it's like, I wouldn't get one. Maybe not at launch. I don't think I'd get one at all, because I have a PS5, unless maybe my PS5 had issues and I had to get rid of it or something, or it stopped working, maybe I'd take the plunge. But I'd be a lot more keen, rather than upgrading my PS5, to just upgrade my TV. I'd rather have a 4K 120Hz TV, so I could play Call of Duty at 120 FPS, or any other games that come out with 120 FPS, than have an 8 fucking K It's stupid. It's stupid.
So guys, do you think it's going to be, do you reckon you're going to get another wave to the air conditioning kind of design of the PlayStation 5? How do you think it's going to look?
Well, I'm thinking what they're going to do is they're going to think about it, right? 18 months time, we're probably going to get a PlayStation 5 Slim, I'd imagine, around then. And that's going to really change the form factor. I mean, PS3 is the biggest difference here. You look at the way that PS3 did it over its lifespan. You had the fat, big, chunky, bad boy PlayStation 3 that I love.
The OG that I've got with the SD card slot in the front. I went to launch in the United States to pick it up. I love that.
The
but
60 gig model. What a style.
But of course,
the
fan moved away from the processor, so I had to move on.
Yeah, and then you had the Slim, which came out then, which is what I ended up buying after my original PlayStation 3 died on me.
And my girlfriend at the time bought me a white version, with the God of War handset.
Well, you actually had the upgrade of the Slim after.
Oh, was it? It was that
version.
one, was it?
Yeah,
right, okay.
So my one was just like a standard PS3, still had the kind of button that you press in to eject the disc and all that, whereas your one had like a slider on the top, didn't it? So your PS3 revision was completely different to how my Slim version was. Now, I can imagine in 18 months' time, we're going to get a nice revision to PlayStation 5, which is going to really cut down the size, cut down kind of the weight, everything, and change the entire form factor. Now, I imagine for the Pro, when that eventually arrives, it's going to be very similar to how the PlayStation 5 is now, in terms of maybe just a tiny bit bigger, but only marginal. I don't think it would be much bigger at all like it was PS4 to PS4 Pro, which was basically double the size.
Mate, my cabinet cannot take a bigger PlayStation. It needs to be smaller. Otherwise, I'm going to have to buy a bigger house.
I think sometimes that's just the trade-off you got to take, you know? You're just going to have to just move some of your Virgin toys you got behind you and make space in that for a PlayStation 5 Pro to take up the entire room, and you just sit around it. And that's fine by me. You know, if it runs God of War 3 better, God, I'll do it. I'll do it.
It's like we're going back in time to when they were looking towards the future, and they were like, computers will be the same size as like a room, and you go in and it'll be all like ticking, talking, and things. That's the idea of a PlayStation 5 Pro.
PS5, yeah, a PS6 is literally, it's just you got your TV, which is like 65-inch, whatever, 70-inch, and then behind it, across the entire back wall, is your PlayStation 6, and your discs are like LPs. You just like carry them in. It's like a massive noise. The entire room's like shaking. All your posters are like flying off the wall. You got to sit there in like a hazmat suit because you're so hot. Because the heat is pumping out. Your wallpaper's like peeling off. But if it plays Last of Us 4 better, hell yeah. That's all we really need, boys.
Or it goes the other way and you just jack in like the Matrix.
Oh, the dream.
There we go. And you could live your life as people from video games.
So what about yourself, Spence? What are you thinking?
I'm looking at my PS5 as we speak, and I'm thinking there's no fucking way it can be bigger. There's no shot. If they release the Pro and it's bigger than this, yeah, I'd still get it. I would still get it. Mine's on the floor. So PS5 Pro, the extra room is not that much of a hindrance, but I wouldn't want it to be bigger. The Slim's definitely happening, 100%. And I imagine people are probably keen for it because this PS5 is a beast. You're right in using the word Goliath, Phil. It is a monster of a console, and the Slim's going to be, I think, the ideal version of the console. In terms of a Pro, I'd like it to just be the same size. I think it'd literally look the same, obviously a bit different as it will, but roughly the same size. It has to be the same size or slightly smaller. I feel like for a Pro it has to be bigger, but that's not the smart way to do it. Because in 4 years' time, the technology will have advanced. Maybe they can make it smaller and more powerful.
And it's a Japanese company. Japanese people love to make things smaller. That's kind of the way it always goes, isn't it, with all the consoles? They always try to make things smaller.
I mean, I'd have thought so, but then the 5 came out.
And it's huge.
I don't know.
It's a monster.
It's
a beast. What I'd like is to get to the point where I can double up my PlayStation as another piece of furniture. So maybe the PS6 is so big, I can then just put a cover over it and I can sleep on it and it'd be my bed. Or I could have it on like just standing upright and it's a table. It's like an IKEA job. You just screw in some table legs onto it and you can rest your coffee cup on it. How cool would that be?
I actually don't think the PS5 will exist. I think the PS5 will be a service on PC that you can play.
Oh, God. We're not Xbox, mate. We're not going down that dark path.
I'm just fishing here. Come on, guys. Bite.
I'm not responding to that. This is roguelite all over again.
One thing I just thought about, right? I'm really curious to see what Sony do for the PS5 Slim and the PS5 Pro if they keep it as separate digital and physical versions. Or if they make it like maybe the Slim could be digital only and the Pro can be the physical. If you know what I mean. Because the physical has to be bigger. And if they slim it down, obviously it'd be easier to make that digital only. But I wonder if they're going to keep this idea they have at the minute of separating the two consoles. I wonder if that's going to carry on.
Well, the thing about it is, that many years in the future, say we don't get a Slim for 2 years. 2 years on from now, digital take-up's already overtaken physical now in terms of how people buy their games. More games are sold digitally now than they are physical. So that's only going to grow more and more and more as time goes on, I imagine. I don't think you'll get much pushback from it if it was a Slim only. It's just like what Xbox did when they had their Slim version. That was all digital, wasn't it?
Unfortunately, as much as I love physical, I hate to agree with you, Davey. Because, Spence, look at your PC. How many CD drives do you have?
1.
Oh, you do? I have 0. I don't have any.
I got 0.
I don't have any drives in my PC now.
Yeah,
because it's
my
all
PC's
digital.
Old. My
it's all
PC's
digital.
Old. I have I can't say it. I have a game on the PC which is a disc.
Really?
And that's how I play it. I played it. Yeah. And I also have Call of Duty 5. I have that on disc for PC, and then the other game 5 on PC.
Very good way to get around that.
Yeah.
Very good.
Very smart.
Appreciate
Very
that. That was
smart.
nice. That was very nice.
I almost said it.
So, so it looks like, guys, outside of us derailing this, it looks like we all think this is pretty much bullshit on this rumor then.
It's bullshit, but it's inevitable bullshit. It will happen, but not at the times that we're quoted here.
Yeah, it's like us saying the PS6 is happening. Wait.
That should be in the news section, mate. We've messed this up.
Yeah, it's all fucking nonsense, isn't it? We'll wait 18 months, and then if we start hearing something, then I'm sure we can start trusting it. Stop! Topic time!
So, lads, Sony has found themselves in hot water over on Twitter, following the announcements of Horizon Forbidden West charging to upgrade from PS4 to PS5. Have you seen this, Spence?
Yeah, I've seen it floating around on Twitter. I've seen it float on other websites and such. It's a very popular topic conversation at the minute. Basically, they were trying to charge an extra £10 and $10 if you have the PS4 version of Horizon to then upgrade it to PS5. A lot of people were furious about this. I wasn't too happy, but at the same time, I thought the PS5 version's going to cost £10 extra anyway. It's fine. I wasn't really too bothered about it. I was going to buy the PS5 version regardless. I still am. But because of this whole outrage on Twitter and such, they've kind of backtracked now and they've changed their mind. It's now going to be a free upgrade like they promised it would be originally, which is good. But they've also said that in the future, games will be a £10 upgrade. I guess for me it's fine, but I also suppose they never promised it wouldn't be for future games. It was only Horizon. So for me, it makes sense. They're still trying to earn that extra bit of bag, even though it's like £10. It's not much, but they take what they can get. I'm fine with it. I'd never had any issues with this. Dave, mate, what about you? You heard much of it?
Yeah, I've been keeping up to this. I've been keeping really close to it, actually, the entire way it's all been unfolding. And originally, like you said, Spence, I didn't have an issue either with this whole charge for upgrade. Now, when it came out that this had all been part of an earlier interview and Horizon was supposed to be included as part of the launch games and launch lineup, and the reason why it's not now is because of the delays, which have pushed it into next year, pushed it in 2022. I was like, well, that's just the way the cookie crumbles, right? It wasn't going to impact me. Like you said, Spence, PlayStation 5 doesn't bother me at all. I was buying the PS5 version anyway, so I don't mind paying the extra premium for that. But I do, but I did have an issue with the way that they were doing it on a title by title basis for what was happening with the upgrades. So it was never a seamless thing. You never knew, right, well, if I buy the PS4 version, will I get a free upgrade? Will I have to pay £10? Will I have to do this? Will I have to do that? It was totally different, and it is totally different for developers. So you might have, say, Ubisoft may come out and they may say, okay, well, to upgrade to the next version of Assassin's Creed, there's no charge. We'll include it as part of it. But then COD will say, oh, well, for us, you've got to buy the Ultimate Edition. It's the only way to get the PS5 code as part of it. And Sony then, for their internal stuff, would be all over the fucking place. Some of them chucking it in for free, some of them charging, some of them just not giving you an upgrade feature, not being able to transfer saves. It's been a fucking mess. Now with this news where they've just streamlined it and said, no, you just pay a £10 fee, you can upgrade it. That's excellent. I think that's just good because it gives us a bit of clarity. I don't think the result is too good, but if you got this price difference between PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 games, which they do, then you have to pass that on for an upgrade. It only makes it fair to people who own a PS5 and are buying a PS5 version. Otherwise, nobody would ever buy the PlayStation 5 version.
I don't really feel like this problem is going to be a problem for much longer. Because the stocks of PS5, we reported on it, I think, 2 weeks ago, didn't we? That all the, especially in the UK anyway, the stocks of PS5 are coming back. People are able to buy them. And It's only because they haven't been able to buy PS5s that people are worried about that upgrade from PS4 to PS5. Because they want to play the latest games, but they haven't got the latest hardware. If they have the opportunity to buy the latest hardware, and it's out there in the shops, and they can just go straight out and buy a PS5, then this doesn't become a problem in the future.
That's true. It is more of a short-term problem. The thing I think is actually more of a bigger issue with this, and something that I'm surprised more people aren't talking about, is save transfers. Save transfers are a fucking nightmare at the moment. They're really difficult. Do you remember, guys, I bought Spider-Man Remastered a while back? And when I bought Spider-Man Miles, and I bought the Spider-Man Remastered thing?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, I've been a PlayStation Plus member for a long time. So my save for Spider-Man's up in the cloud. So you'd think it would just be a case that you could just access that, download that to your PlayStation 5 storage, and Bob's your uncle, right? No. The way it worked is you have to put the disc in for PlayStation 4 Spider-Man, install every single patch on a PS4 that you originally had your save onto. On the game itself, there's a little menu where you can click into to upload your game to their individual server. You then put that same disc into your PlayStation 5 version, boot the game up, download that save, then you're good to go. Fucking clusterfuck. It was an absolute nightmare to get through. It took ages to download it onto PS4. You know how slow PS4 is to update. It takes forever. It took literally like 3 hours to do that. Whereas, why isn't it as seamless as Xbox is? Smart delivery, I laughed at it when it was first shown, and it's actually godlike. It's the biggest blunder we've made of this console generation for Sony. It is literally, it's inexcusable, in my opinion.
We've always spoke about how messed up the back end of PlayStation is, because going back to my original problem of having an American console and trying to play like British games and that kind of like switch between like the region codes, saves are the same situation, right? I can't play an American save on a British version of the game. That's broken as well. You would just think that would cross over. Why is it any different? It's a save for the same game.
It's just crazy, isn't it? It literally just doesn't make any sense. I honestly don't know what the fuck Sony are doing, because shit like this should be easy. It's not like we're talking PS3 generation anymore, where cell architecture makes everything a little bit weird. PS4 and PS5 are running on pretty much basic hardware.
PS3 had it right, though. It all worked on PS3. Like, I could play American games on British consoles, and I could switch saves around. It didn't matter. I could have your DLC. I could have Spence's DLC. It didn't matter back in that day. It's only got complicated since PS4 have come in, and PlayStation have tried to make a buck out of all these different region codes and all these different versions of games that are coming out.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be... We still haven't done the work on this yet to figure out why this is. It might be worth us actually reaching out to Sony. Maybe we can see if we can get some kind of clarity on this for a future episode. But it would be quite nice to know what the reason is. There's got to be some kind of international law. There's got to be some kind of consumer rights there. There's got to be something. And I'll be interested to find out if it works that way on Xbox too. It's bound to be a similar thing, I imagine. But I don't know. I'll have to do the work on that. But going back and putting it more onto the save transfer rather than kind of the cross-generational aspect of it with PS3 and PS4, I just think Sony just really need to focus on making it an easy experience on PlayStation 5. And for the most part, we get really spoiled. We got fantastic games. We've had a sensational year. People say about how, there's nothing coming out, before the showcase. They're forgetting we've had Returnal, we've had Ratchet, we've had Miles Morales. We've had some absolutely amazing experiences so far just on PlayStation in that hardware.
There's one other game you haven't mentioned, and that was brilliant as well.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you noticed that there was something I obviously omitted. But we've had some absolutely amazing experiences so far this year. But the one thing that hasn't been easy has been figuring out which version of the game you're playing. And obviously that's been sorted now. So it automatically installs the PlayStation 5 version on PS5. And then you can just go onto information to see which version you're playing. So that's really easy to do now. But that took a while for that to happen. But this save transfer still hasn't been sorted. And I just do not get it. I just do not get it. And also, on the same thing, it's been just a mess with upgrades. You look about how much shit I gave Ghost Tsushima for their upgrade path compared to what I gave for Death Stranding. It's just all over the place. It's a fucking mess. It's just a mess. So I'm glad for a bit of clarity on this and having it a little bit more streamlined, but there's a lot more to do.
Davey, quick question. As I've been playing the PS4 version of God of War, and I've been playing in my office on the PS4, in between breaks and lunchtimes and things like that. If I thought, I'll put my PS4 disc downstairs in my PS5, would that save not work? Is that what you're telling me?
No, you'd be fine with that because it's only a boosted version of the game. Mm-hmm. So what would happen is on that, if you uploaded your save into the cloud,
I've got PS Plus.
Brill. So say you uploaded it to the cloud and then downloaded it on your PS5. That's easy to do that. That takes a couple of seconds. It's really, really simple, really straightforward. You could then play God of War, and all that would happen is that it would be boosted up to playing at 60 in 4K or 1440. And that's all. Really seamless, really easy. They're both PS4 versions of the game. But say, for example, there was a PlayStation 5 remaster of that game, and you wanted to play your save, then you'd encounter problems.
So you're going to be getting this issue when you try to play Death Stranding Director's Cut, probably?
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt. So if you want to continue your save, you're going to encounter issues like this, I imagine. But it definitely does seem to be on a case-by-case basis, though. This is the problem. Some games, it's you don't have to do anything, and it's just fine. But others, especially the first-party Sony ones, yeesh, it's not pretty.
For Death Stranding, though, it seemed to be something they talked about a lot in all the presentations. So hopefully they've got that covered. But of course, I'll be the first one to pull them up on it if it isn't in a future podcast episode. So stay tuned, listeners.
So, Phil, what do you think? Obviously, you said about how you didn't think this was an issue, and obviously it's going to sort itself out. How do you feel about the cost, the £10 difference? Do you think that's okay for the for users going from PS4 to PS5 to pay that extra £10 to upgrade it to a more premium version for a game they already own? Or do you think it should be included as part of it?
I think it feels rough, especially because these people that are still on PS4 and they want to play the newer games, they just haven't had the opportunity to buy a PS5 because they're not in the shops. And as I said, I think this will quickly disappear as soon as the stocks of PS5 are just like unlimited, like any other thing that it should be. It should just be freely available on Amazon. Just order as many as you like.
Yeah, I mean, you know my stance on this. I've said if you want a PS5 hard enough, you can find it. I stick with that. I still think you can. But, like you said, you still have to do a bit of groundwork, right? You can't just go on to Amazon and, like you say, order 5 of them for, each room in your house or whatever. You can't do that. So until it gets to that point where there's that much stock in the wild that you can just pick it up wherever you go, yeah, I can see that.
Considering Sony knows there's shortages because everyone's talking about it, it's so hard to pay that extra tenner, and that is the reason people are so pissed off. It's not the tenner. Most people can afford that. That doesn't matter. I don't think it's the actual cost of it. It's just that they're annoyed that they can't get a PS5. That's part of the frustration, I believe, anyway. And I'd be the same. If I couldn't get a PS5, I would begrudge paying that extra tenner to upgrade once I get that PS5.
I think if I didn't have a PlayStation 5, I just don't think I'd play the game. I think I'd just wait, because by the time you can get a PS5, that game's going to be 20, 30 quid on the PS5. Like a physical copy of that game, it's going to be cheap as fuck. And then you'll get the true full experience. I would probably just sit on my thumbs and wait. Keep playing frickin' Call of Duty. I'd be quite happy, really.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I think if I didn't have a PS5, I'd begrudge paying the tenner that much that I wouldn't play the newer games.
I think it just depends on who your audience is, right? And we've said this before a few times on the podcast, but you get your players, the majority of the people that buy a console aren't hardcore. This is the thing. At this point in the generation, they are the hardcore. A year from now, 18 months from now, it's going to be a case that you get people that just pick it up on a whim to play FIFA and COD every year. And that's fine, good games in their own right. Not hardcore, though. Are they going to care, really, that you've got extra fucking skin texture on Cristiano Ronaldo? No, probably not. Probably not going to notice a difference. There's fucking haptic feedback in the way that the football dribbles over your fucking boots. I don't know what fucking happens in FIFA, right? I only know Cristiano Ronaldo. It's the only footballer I know. So, you get my point here, though. They're not going to really care about the fact that it's 4K, 120 hertz. They're not going to give a shit, because to them that's just the newest thing they have to go on to play that newest game. Whereas the people like us at this level, who really want it and can't get it, like you say, they're the ones that are going to kick off and go on Twitter and whine and bitch. And this time, rightfully so.
Especially with games coming out these days, you have settings for games. It's not always the optimum setting is the default. Because we were playing, what was the game we were playing, Spence? And you were like, switch it to performance mode. I think it was Diablo 2, wasn't it? And it improved the game so much. Like, the best version of the game isn't always the default. So you imagine these people that are very like casual to gaming, and they come in, they switch on FIFA. It might not be the best version of FIFA, even though they're playing on the newest console. Yeah,
you are exactly right. There's not a game that I play where I don't immediately check the video settings. I turn motion blur off on everything I play immediately. I hate motion blur. It's always on as well. It's always on and turned up to max. It ruins it. Why would you, when you're turning, why do you want to not be able to see stuff? It makes no fucking sense.
The immersion,
Uncharted
mate.
4.
The immersion, mate. I love bit of motion blur.
You wouldn't want it in a competitive game, would you?
Shit.
Come on.
No, but I bet he boots up COD now. Does he have motion blur on? Yes, he does.
Hell yeah, full. I want to be feeling that immersion. I want to be feeling it. Same way that when I play Smash, I play with Rumble on. I want to feel every hit. People are like, breaks your pad. Toughens you up. That Rumble on your hand 24/7 toughens you up. Either that or I'm going to get arthritis by the time I'm 40. One of the two.
You're not playing Melee, mate. You're not playing Melee. But motion blur actually would hinder you, because if you're in Call of Duty and you turn, say your sensor's quite high, you're getting so much motion blur, you've looked past someone and never saw them because they're fucking blurry for some reason, and then you're dead. Uncharted 4 had a big controversy where it released and there were no settings for motion blur, and they patched it in because it had max motion blur and you couldn't turn it down. And a lot of people did not like it at all, and they ended up having to patch it in for people. Or, yeah, I think that is it.
I know at the start of most modern games now, they do try and talk you through some of this, but I don't think it's at the level where most people that go through that kind of introduction understand fully what it means, right? I think a lot of people just press XXX, try and get through and just get to the game, right? And start experiencing it. It doesn't really give you a clear example of what it means. You know, sometimes where you have to like push that darkness down so the one thing on the right disappears and the one thing jumps out to you. It's like,
yeah.
Why don't you fully explain what that means in a game? Give me an example in the game. Don't just give me an icon that means nothing to me. Because I don't care if I don't see the devil's face, right? On Bloodborne. But I don't know what that means in the game. Show me 2 examples in it. Give me the options. Let's improve that introduction to a game.
I think, well, the PlayStation 5 does something really interesting. When you first kind of boot it up and you go into... I can't remember if it's on boot or if it's in the settings for the first time you visit. I'm not sure now. Obviously, it's been since launch that I've really explored those settings, but it gives you the option of when you boot your game, do you want better quality or do you want better performance? It gives you that. Now, as standard for me, I've got better quality because most of the time, as stated here before, frame rates don't really matter to me too much. I really like the way a game looks and I want to have that kind of visual experience. But a game like Ratchet, for example, that we were talking about earlier, the highlight for that game wasn't on the quality mode, it was on the RT60. So it was going into the menus again and kind of exploring and checking those out. And as you said, Phil, you know, for fucking Dave who works down the social club, who just plays FIFA and just plays Crystal Palace or whatever, is he gonna know to go in there and check out performance to play FIFA at 60? Probably not. I've given you a really visceral image there, haven't I? Did you enjoy that one?
I'm astounded by your football knowledge. Cristiano Ronaldo and Crystal Palace.
It's 2, right? I'm quite happy with myself.
You know football. You've convinced me.
Master of football, completed it, mate. But yeah, that's it. I think, you know, for the majority of people that are out there, it's not going to mean shit. And I don't think it will matter because they won't know to look. But that's okay. I don't think it's too much of an issue.
I do completely agree. I agree that the casual fan base and majority of players won't really care for the settings or understand what they're changing. It's insane that you can't tell the difference between 30 and 60 FPS.
Well, of course I can tell the difference, right? I can tell the difference now. I never used to be able to.
Can you?
I can now. I can now. But
Demon Souls, Ghost of Tsushima, go on.
There's certain things that... Right, Ghost I still can't tell. I honestly can't, honest to God, I can't tell. But Ratchet I could. Ratchet was really obvious. I really noticed it immediately that something was off in the movement. And changing it to 60 just felt so much cleaner. Demon Souls, I swear, is better in 30. I love it in 30. I love it. I think it looks amazing in 30. That's how I played that game. That's how I play all my Souls games. Loved it. Although I am there campaigning for Bloodborne to have a 60 patch like every 2 weeks on this podcast, so
you know we're going to get to a point where they're like, here's a trophy for completing it on 30 FPS, here's a trophy for completing it on 60 FPS. Go through all the different settings with all the visuals.
Be solid, mate. I'd never be able to get the 120 plat. I'd never be able to get the 120 ever. Be solid.
I was going to say, I'm The Last of Us 2 that I'm playing at the minute, that got game boosted for free as well. No upgrade or nothing. I'm playing that at 60 FPS right now. You're going to play that again soon. If you play that on 30 FPS, I'm fucking fuming.
I play it in the way it looks the best.
It looks the same. It's the same. They just made it 60.
Yeah, no, I'll play that in 60. Of course I will. I mean, when I went back and revisited Last of Us Remastered, and that was in 60, I thought, oh, this feels really smooth. You know, I didn't clock that it was 60. I was just like, oh, it feels different from the original. Don't know why. Must be the power of the PlayStation 4. And that was about it, right? But going back to this and putting this back on track, it's really encouraging to see all of us are kind of on the same line with this, saying that, you know, Sony, they've made a blunder here. There's a lot they can do in terms of their back end to improve the experience when it comes to transferring saves and making games that are cross-generational work better, moving generations. So that's really, really encouraging. And I just hope, guys, that like you said, Phil, earlier on in this topic, that this will be done. I wanted this to end with Horizon, and it doesn't look like that's obviously happening with Gran Turismo and God of War, but that does bring us on to our next topic. So as I said, the next topic includes God of War. We're, of course, talking about the PlayStation Showcase. Oh, shit! It finally happened. My prediction came true. We got a blowout, boys. It was a fucking mad one. Now, guys, before we break down what was shown, what our thoughts are, go through our top 3 games that were shown, or top 3 announcements, I should say, we each made predictions on this, and we did it on the typical format of safe, possible, and crazy. So should we run through those first? Spencer, give me yours.
All right, yeah. My safe was GTA. It wasn't. It wasn't GTA. All right, well, listen. Okay, my safe was Elden Ring. My possible was Last of Us 2 Factions. And my crazy was Bloodborne 2. None of them happened, all right? None of them was even close. We saw Elden Ring in the pre-show, mind.
It doesn't count.
Does not count.
Yeah, I know it doesn't.
No shot, as you would say.
Oh.
Yeah, no shot.
And of course, audience, you probably don't know this. If you listened to the show before, then anytime we do one of these announcements, whoever gets the highest score gets to give out shots to the loser.
No.
That's the way it works. Maybe
That's
shot
not
then.
how we do it. How we do it is
How do we do it then?
every time we get one right, we get a shot to give out. You've changed the rules because you know the outcome of this.
What?
I'm accusing you
No.
live on the show.
I would never do such a thing.
Listeners,
I would never do
listen
such
back.
a thing.
Listen back to the show. It's everyone you get right, you have a shot to hand out.
I'm fine with that.
I've been outvoted. Okay, yeah, that's how it is then. Okay, fine. Yeah, cool. All right, fine.
Anyway, my predictions. My safe was I thought there was going to be some hint or some kind of trailer or some sort of vision of Horizon 2. I know we've got a lot of that recently, but I thought it would be included in the show. My possible was something Spider-Man related, purely because of the logo had spiderwebs in it. And I thought, let's put those together. Why not? New Spider-Man, that'll be brilliant. And my crazy, and I'm always holding out hope, not that I'm traveling a lot and I don't really know when I'm going to use it. And I've also ordered the Steam machine, but I'm pretty crazy about a PlayStation handheld. I'm up for it. If that's going to happen again, if we're going to get a
That's
Vita
jokes.
2, I'm buying it day one.
Oh my god, I would fucking lap
Let
that up.
go.
I'd buy it. I'd buy it immediately.
Oh god,
I'd buy it
so
and
hyped.
never play it. It'll sit on my shelf and look fucking lovely.
Yeah, it look
Okay,
great.
fine.
Davey, what were your predictions?
So my predictions were: my safe was God of War Ragnarok shown. My possible was Blue Point new game reveal, and my crazy was Resistance shown in any capacity, remake or new entry. So Phil, that leaves you and me at a standstill with one apiece.
One apiece or two for me? Because I thought I saw Horizon 2 at some stage.
No,
No, it wasn't. It wasn't there at all.
no, no. It
I
was
definitely
not
saw
there,
Aloy's
not even
face.
once. No, oh no.
Oh, that's the dumbest shit I've
Come
ever
on.
That's ridiculous. No, that's ridiculous.
Okay,
no
okay,
chance.
fine. I'll just take the
Absolutely no
Spider-Man
chance.
one because it is huge.
Wait. I will still say, though, I think Phil wins.
Why?
Because his was a possible against your safe.
Very true. Very true.
You were calling me about changing the rules now. Okay. I'm going to let this slide. I'm going to say that for
You
the
still
future,
both get a shot. You still both get a shot.
It doesn't actually matter that I win, Davey.
I want to win, though.
I know you do, and that's why I want it. I don't care otherwise.
I think for the future when we do these, audiences, just so it goes on record here, it should be in a sliding scale. So if your safe comes in, 1 point, possible 2 points, crazy 3 points.
I like that. And especially I like this because my possible was Spider-Man. Great idea.
But
It's my sister.
that's for the future.
I pitched this the other
He
day.
did pitch it the other day. I just nicked it off him. But he did. He literally pitched it after the showcase went in.
But the thing is, obviously we could go, oh, my crazy is going to be God of War.
Yeah, you'd know. Yeah, it has to still be crazy.
You can't cheat
Okay.
it.
And if someone cheats it, if someone tries to cheat it and we call them out, null and
Null and
void.
void.
Yeah, you lose it. Deal. That's locked in for the next one, guys. That's locked in for the next one. We got Tokyo Game Show in about a month's time, so we'll get ready for that. So, following that, then we've each got a shot to give out at any point, Phil, you and me. So we'll play nice with each other. Spencer, I'm glad you don't have a sense of taste. You may be you may be putting that to the test later on. So let's go through what was actually shown here. Before then, we go into our overall ratings and go into our top 3 games / announcements. So what was shown, and this is not in order: Gran Turismo 7,
Cheer.
Deathloop,
Guardians of the Galaxy,
Bloodhunt.
Ghostwire, Tokyo,
Grand Theft Auto 5,
Alan Wake Remastered.
Rainbow Six Extraction,
Forspoken,
Tiny Tina's Wonderlands.
Project Eve,
Spider-Man 2,
Wolverine.
God of War Ragnarok,
Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake. I like how we got more epic as that was going on.
we built
We
up.
did.
That was good. I really appreciate that. So speaking of good, what are your ratings for this conference? Phil, start us off. What do you reckon about the conference? Give us your top level thoughts on it and give us a rating before we then go through our top 3 games.
So I watched the conference in the pub. Went out last night with the guys from South Media. Shout out Deborah and Eric. I know you'll be listening, and you better listen because you promised me. I brought my laptop. We sat all round, had a pint, and we watched the conference. We found a quiet old man pub. We were able to hear the audio as well as see the visuals. I didn't think it started off that well, but obviously ended with quite an ending, and that took my breath away. There was a point in it, obviously the Wolverine thing. It changed my opinion of it straight away. I'm going for a straight up 9 for this. This was huge for me. There is so many games. Well, I say so many games. There's a few games in there which I cannot wait to play or cannot wait to see any more of it. It's just going to be epic. But 9 out of 10 for me, boys.
Wow, really strong. What about yourself, Spence?
Right, well, I thought it was a long conference, 40 minutes for a PlayStation conference because we're used to state of plays. For the first half an hour, I thought, why the fuck isn't this just a state of play? For the first half hour was quite shit. But like you said, the back end, Jesus Christ. If it wasn't for fucking Insomniac coming through, jeez, Insomniac are the goats. For me, this conference was a 7 out of 10. And then Insomniac bumped it up to an 8. Because Wolverine and Spidey. Well, Spidey's sick. And then fucking Wolverine. If anyone's ever played X-Men Origins, fantastic fucking game. This is going to be better. Because Insomniac are goated. Davey, mate, how about you?
So, guys, for me, it started off and I was blown the fuck away. I saw Dark Revan. I saw Knights of the Old Republic remake. And I fucking went nuts. I couldn't believe that PlayStation had landed that as a PlayStation exclusive. I went fucking insane for that. Absolutely insane. Then I calmed down because we got Tiny Tina, we got a load of bollocks. Then we got Forspoken, and I went fucking nuts for that. It looked amazing. It looked great. Then I died down quite a bit. It dropped. I was thinking, oh god, there's like nothing being shown for ages. Gran Turismo talked about for ages. Don't give a fuck about Gran Turismo. And then it happened. Insomniac came through. And then my boys, Santa Monica, came through with God of War. And I shit my pants. I've watched that trailer 5 times already. I cannot stop watching it. So fucking hyped. Easy 9 out of 10 conference for me. Potentially 10 out of 10. Just because you think about it, if you get 3 good announcements in a conference, it's a fucking great conference. And for this to have Forspoken, Spider-Man, Wolverine, God of War, that's stacked. That is fucking stacked. And Guardians look great. Guardians we've seen before, but that new footage looked awesome, I thought. I was hyped. I thought it was a great conference. I loved it. I'm going to go for a 9 out of 10 on this occasion. I loved it. Really fantastic showing.
I think there's only ever been, or for me at least, there's only ever been one 10 out of 10 conference I've ever seen. And that is the PS5 reveal conference.
No. The best conference ever is where they showed Final Fantasy VII Remake for the first time. That conference where they had Spider-Man shown for the first time, Final Fantasy VII, Last Guardian, Shenmue, all in 1 year. That was fucking insane. That conference was nuts. I think that's where God of War was shown actually as well for the first time. That was that was 2016. Good God, that's the best conference I've ever seen in my entire life.
If we take an average of our scores, that leaves us around an 8. So we got 2 9s and a 7. Leaves us a strong 8 for this conference. It's a pretty good one then, guys.
Well, mine's an 8. Mine's an 8.
Oh, yours is 8?
It was a 7, and then Insomniac bumped it up to an 8.
Oof.
So it's like a 9.
Probably a 9 then. Yeah.
8.75 is what it is.
Decent. So that's probably the highest rating conference we've ever rated on this show. That probably rates higher than... I suppose this is something to ask, actually. This is a bit more meta for the show, I suppose, more than anything else. Would you rate this higher than Nintendo's showing at E3, which obviously we gave as the best show at E3?
For me, yes. I'll play more of these games than I will the Nintendo games.
Yeah, to be fair, I was going to say no, but Phil makes a brilliant point. Yeah, I'm not going to play half those Nintendo games. As awesome as they look, and I'm sure they're brilliant games, I'm actually going to play most of these, especially the last few. Jesus Christ. Especially those. Insomniac. Ooh.
Yeah, we're all in agreement then. So far it's the best conference of the year.
Yeah, easy.
Of everything we've seen. Wow, really positive praise.
In PS We Trust, official best conference of the year so far, to date.
Hopefully we got a lot more to come. So, what I want to know now, guys, is what are your top 3 games or announcements that were shown? So the way we'll do this is just a 3, 2, and 1. Go around in a circle. But if you've got the same game or same announcement as somebody else, we'll all talk about it on that occasion, so we don't end up repeating ourselves and repeating the same thing like 10 times. So as soon as we mention a game, we'll get it all out at that time, and then move on to the next one, and so on and so on. Fair?
Yeah.
Fair, but I feel like the top 3 is going to be the same, because there are 3 very big standout games. Would you not also want to do an honourable mention? Because I think there is 4 that I'm relatively interested in this list.
Let's do an honourable mention.
Let's do an honourable mention.
Let's go for our top 3 and then do an honourable mention.
Cool. Sounds good to me.
All right then. So, Spence, do you want to lay me in your number 3?
No.
Oh.
Because I reckon Phil should start, because the last 2 Shag, Marry, Kills, I started, then you started. Pass it to Phil.
All right.
My number 3, straight in. It was a very short trailer. And he's not my favourite character. If anything, he's a character which I slightly despise. It's the Wolverine. I'm loving that Insomniac have picked that up, because of, obviously, they've done such a brilliant job with the Spider-Man series so far. And I'm definitely going to be buying that day one. But I'm not a massive Wolverine fan. If they did a Gambit game, I think that would have been my number 1.
Cyclops game. That's what we all need.
Shut the fuck up.
A game where you just shoot beams out your eyes all the time. Where
Mate,
you can never take off your glasses.
Mate, throwing cards. He's got a Neo coat on, and he's got a big stick. And he'd give everyone sass. A Gambit game would be sick.
It would be good. Yeah,
It'd
it would
be
be
good.
good. Maybe that's next. Maybe that's next after Wolverine.
Fingers crossed. We know they listen to the show.
I agree with you. It's at my number 3 as well. Coming in straight in number 3, Wolverine. Super, super hyped by it. It's just great to see that, obviously, if you're Marvel and Disney, and Insomniac come to you and say, do you know, we've got this great idea for another one of your characters, they'll be like, take whoever you want. Take whoever you want. They'll have learned all the lessons from fucking messing around with Crystal and the Avengers game. You know, they're like, God, Insomniac, you did such a good job with Spider-Man. If you want to do something with Wolverine, you just crack on. Because there'd be no worries there at all.
Is it Marvel's to give away, or is it Sony's? Because it's X-Men.
No, so it's not. That's just movie rights. They don't have anything on games.
You sure?
Yeah, positive.
I thought it was an interesting question. I don't know the answer here.
Yeah. The full rights are now with, and either way, they're owned by the movie rights for the X-Men studio. The X-Men stuff was under Fox, which is owned by Disney now anyway. So X-Men's definitely under Disney. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no two ways about that. That's 100%. But in terms of Spider-Man, the games aren't anything to do with Sony. That's just Marvel. Sony have only got the exclusive rights to the movies. But yeah, so my number 3, easy. Cannot wait to see what they do with it. I'm just really hoping that we get some gameplay that's much like that X-Men Origins game. I know, Spence, you obviously mentioned it earlier on, but that game was so amazing to see the damage on there. I'm just hoping that it's an R-rated game so that we get to see that real damage to Wolverine's body and him recovering in real time. God, that's going to look so good.
I've got a quick question for you before we move on. How do you think the combat's going to work? Because I've seen Wolverine featured in a bunch of different games, and it's all relatively different. I've never seen it done in a good way. But think to the game that's coming out very, very soon, Sifu. Would you like to see it along those lines?
I would, yeah. I was thinking the easy way to do it is like Batman, and that's what Sifu is. That's the easy way to do it. I'm thinking there's a better way of doing it that would be more visceral and would be more bloody. I'm thinking more like, this is a bit of an extreme example, but thinking more like that Metal Gear game with Raiden.
Oh yeah, Metal Gear Rising.
Revengeance. Oh yeah, Rising Revengeance.
Rising, yeah. I'm thinking like that, like in terms of that way that you kind of like hone in with the samurai sword and slice stuff. You got adamantium claws, for God's sake. You're like, can you imagine absolutely just going to town on somebody and ripping to shreds in like a berserker mode and just slowing it down?
That would be like Devil May Cry devil mode, wouldn't it?
Yeah, kind of.
Trigger,
I think you could do a lot with it. Obviously, you don't need the juggles and stuff. Just have it really visceral combat. Each hit being a real hit, and all about your blocks and stuff like that. I think you could kind of do a good fusion of styles there with that melee-based combat. Like, Batman's flying all about the screen when you do combat on that. I don't want to see that with Wolverine. I want to see more like kind of slower but impactful combat. Kind of like how Spider-Man is when you just get into the normal fist fights with Spider-Man and you're not jumping everywhere. You're just belting people, basically. I just kind of want to see that, but with them getting stabbed to shit. So hopefully
you want to see blood. And you want to see
I want to see a lot of blood, yeah. I want to see a lot of
it
blood.
Needs blood.
Sounds good. But it is Disney, and after all the movies and everything I'm seeing on Disney Plus at the moment, there ain't no blood. People just fall over.
Yeah, but Logan has some pretty hardcore
So you're
moments.
hoping it goes along that kind of route then, the Logan kind of style then. Okay.
Yeah,
I feel
definitely. What about yourself, Spence? What's your number 3?
Well, before I go on to that, Wolverine's on my list as well.
Ooh.
Oh. Is it higher then?
It's my number 1.
Oh my gosh.
Someone loves Wolverine.
I fucking love Wolverine.
Wow. What put it as your number 1?
Well, as a kid, I've always liked superheroes and that. When I was a kid playing on PS2 and PS3 and such, my mum would always buy me. They just kind of printed X-Men games all the time. I played all of them. I played the whole trilogy movie games. I played Origins. They were sick.
Considering your choice of Turtle, we're picking Donatello. Like, Wolverine's like a top tier kind of like pick. Why have you gone with him? He's a fan favorite.
Yeah, he was on the box.
I'm the niche pick with Gambit.
So you're going along my line of thinking. I play Ryu in Street Fighter, he's on the box. I play Scorpion in Mortal Kombat because he's on the box. That's just how I do. But Wolverine isn't my favourite X-Man.
No, Cyclops is such a bad show. I don't think he's my favorite X-Man. I think it's probably Nightcrawler. Just because teleporting's fucking sick.
Busted power.
Busted fucking power. But I just fucking love Wolverine. I love playing as Wolverine. And Origins, I think, is the reason. Because that was like the first time in a game where you take your damage and as you heal, you can actually see his wounds and stuff closing on his body in X-Men Origins. And that was crazy. It was crazy for the time. And imagine how that would look now by Insomniac, 4K ray tracing, all that. Think about it, right? He's got adamantium skeleton. If he gets slashed, there'll be ray tracing on his adamantium skeleton, mate.
Can you imagine just seeing the muscle regrowing underneath before the skin goes over the top of it? Oh my god. You'd have to go to that level, wouldn't you? It has to be R-rated. There's no other way to do it.
Yeah, it'd be freaking fantastic. But also, they've shown us nothing. So I have zero idea on what the story could possibly be. The scene they showed, the scene it depicted in the little cutscene, kind of shows, it looks similar to Logan at the start of X-Men 1 when he's in the bar.
Yeah, but, isn't it when like Charles and walk in on him, isn't it? Isn't that what it is?
That's in
First Class, isn't it?
First Class.
Yeah.
But he's
I
just
thought
out
it was
bar.
that. I thought it was that scene rather than the Logan scene.
It's just a typical place for Logan to be, really, isn't it? It's just in a bar, just with a load of beat up people, and he's sitting there with a cowboy hat on. It's just typically in character for him, smoking a fucking massive cigar. It's just...
Well, he can't die.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you? Fucking do it all the time.
It is literally just the character to a T, but also in X-Men 1, it literally, when you first see Logan, he's sat at the bar. Well, he's had his fight. And then he sat at the bar, and the guy says, "I knows what you are." And then he pulls a knife on him, which is more or less exactly what happened. He didn't say that, did he? But the guy pulls a knife and goes to stab Logan. It's the exact same thing.
Goddamn mutie.
But I'm so curious as to like what's going to happen in the story. If it's anywhere near as good as Spider-Man, it's going to be phenomenal.
I think with the way that Insomniac looked after Spider-Man and the story that they told in that, especially with how heartfelt it was and how many emotional moments it had for being a Spider-Man story, I have got no doubt that Insomniac are going to knock this out of the park. This isn't like this is being given to some random studio. Insomniac have proven themselves to be able to more than handle this. I've got no problem. They can issue me whatever story they want. I know it's going to probably be incredible.
Quick question before we move on. What other mutants do you think we're going to get in this game? Are we talking Jean Grey for his love interest? Are we talking Sabretooth? Are we going down that track? Who do you think is going to go into this game?
I got some obvious picks, and that's obviously Sabretooth. And I think the other two I can see is Sabretooth and then Mystique and Magneto. Because Magneto, he's either now or in a sequel, but he's such a clear villain for Wolverine just because it's the polar opposite, innit? If anyone's gonna clap Wolverine's cheeks, who is it? Magneto could literally just chuck his hand out and make Wolverine's cheeks clap with his mind. That's whatever he wants. And then Mystique, there's this whole thing of Mystique being Raven, isn't it? And she had a close relationship with Logan. So that could kind of play into it a little bit. I have no idea.
No, I personally, yeah. I'm thinking Sabretooth, obvious. Yeah, can see that. Omega Red. Omega Red is a busted character. He's so good. He's got adamantium tentacles and stuff. Chuck him in. And then a fodder villain. You could chuck a load of fodder villains in there, like Lady Deathstrike and stuff. But yeah, Omega Red for me. That's who I want to see. I'd love to see him be done properly.
That's the Weapon X program, isn't it? That's the storyline with Omega Red in it. So that makes more sense in my mind, from what I know about Wolverine anyway. Obviously, people listening to this podcast, probably huge comic book geeks. They're going to be writing in going, no, it's this character, obviously. But I agree with you more with that one, with the Omega Red pick.
It could be similar to Logan movie and The Last of Us, an X-23 kind of situation where he finds X-23. I don't think it will be.
She ain't popular, is she, though, that character?
I love X-23, mate. I love X-23.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think she's sick. But it'd be a cool story, but I think the thing is, we've just seen that with Logan. Granted, it came out a while ago. I don't think they'd want to repeat that. But I think it'd be cool.
Nah, at the end of the day, you gotta start this universe off now, don't you? and you got to build up Logan's kind of history. And do you make that as part of the X-Men, or do you make it as an individual thing, or do you have it like Spider-Man did, where he's so many years into his career, he's been an X-Man already, or he's part of the X-Men, he's part of the Avengers, and it's just a solo adventure for him. And maybe you have, I don't know, Cyclops call him on the radio and ask him about stuff, but that's all we need. I don't need loads and loads. Oh, I don't need loads and loads of cameos, but God, I'd love Cyclops to just appear in there just for a moment. Oh God, I'd love that so much. I think that's enough time spent on Wolverine. Let's move it on to Spence. I want to hear your number 3.
My number 3 is Forspoken. That game, obviously originally shown as Project Athia, I think it was, looked fucking insane. The particle effects, the movement, all her abilities just looked awesome. I think the dialogue and the kind of isekai story they've added into it, or they've shown off now, might have dampened it a bit for me. When it was just fantasy setting and she had all these powers and such and all this like movement in the air, I was mega excited, but the story kind of seems like it could still be good. It might still be phenomenal. But just when they showed off the combat, I thought it looked fucking awesome.
With you picking that as your number 3, the only thing I can think about is which one of you left out.
I thought that would be the case.
That's all I can think about.
Yeah, so with Forspoken, I was blown away by it. Absolutely blown away by it. Obviously, all the stuff they've shown so far, like you said, over the different iterations before it got its full name and everything else, I kind of haven't believed it's been a real thing. I kind of been thinking, this just looks too good. It looks like a bit of a tech demo. I don't think it's ever going to see the light of day. And now seeing it running with this, with like the full kind of story behind it, I'm totally in for this. This is a day one for me. I think it looks sensational. The effects when she puts that water ball up and it turns into ice blows my fucking mind. I cannot believe how good that game looks. It looks absolutely sensational. Definite day one for me, without a doubt. But it's not in my top 3.
It did remind me a little bit of Mirror's Edge in the way she was like traversing everything. It looked so fluid in the way she was doing all the parkour, like jumping over things. Did you get that from it?
I think you've only got 2 different things here, Phil. You've either got it's a roguelite or it's Mirror's Edge.
I've only played 2 games, mate.
Mario and Mirror's Edge.
Yeah.
But no, I get what you mean. In terms of how slick it was and the kind of movement around the environment, it did look really, really, really just good. It just looked really polished. It looked really slick. And unlike a lot of the games that were shown at E3, if we go back only a couple of months ago, and they looked dodge, they looked really, really like rough. Christ, you look at Far Cry that was shown only a couple of weeks ago, and it looked bad. It looked really bad. Whereas this looked like butter. It looked so fluid. I just can't believe this game. It's blown my mind. I cannot wait for that spring 2022 release. Just cannot wait for it. Definite day one. So what's your number 2, Phil?
So my number 2, after what I've been playing recently, is the God of War Ragnarok. And I didn't want to show you guys how into God of War I've been. I've tried to keep it under wraps in the early section of the show, but I'm actually loving the game. So yeah.
Yes.
Quite hyped about God of War Ragnarok when that comes out, because it just looks like more of the same. And I'm really enjoying the story. And it just looks like a big step up. And I'm loving all the visuals that are coming out on Twitter. So all the different characters they're like showing off, and all the different recreations of the gods and things, especially the Thor one. It just looks so cool. I don't know if you've seen those on Twitter lately.
Yeah, I have. All the character art went up, didn't it? And I gotta say, there's been like so many people do my fucking head in. I mean, I swear on this podcast, it's like a vent for me for Twitter, because I get so annoyed at Twitter all the time. I don't know why I love it so much, because I fucking hate it. But everyone being like, "Oh, Thor looks like he's Fat Thor from Endgame." It's like, bro, he's from the mythology. It's exactly like he is in mythology. This is a game about mythology. It's like that's why he's a ginger with a big beer gut. That's how he looks. That's what he is. He's not Chris Hemsworth.
He's a big party guy who likes fighting. That's what people know about Thor. And that's what that character portrays. It looks spot on.
Yeah, it looks awesome. And Yeah, do you know what? I'm so chuffed that you're enjoying God of War. I'm 2 for 2 then, because I got you onto The Last of Us as well, didn't I?
There we go. Well, maybe this third game, which I bought recently at CEX on the PS3, which I'll surprise you with in the upcoming weeks, might be 3 for 3. We'll have to see.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. But no, surprise to nobody, God of War is my number 1. It's my number 1. Absolutely blown away by it. I've been waiting to see this game ever since they did that pointless reveal on the PS5 launch. I love this game. The only thing that would be more exciting to me than this would be like a Metal Gear reveal. That's how big this is to me. I cannot wait for this game to be in my hands. Sure, I'm gutted it's still PS4 to PS5. I wish it was a full technical marvel on PS5, but this early in the generation, we got potential we could have a sequel. So, you know, who cares? At the end of the day, I got to accept it. And from what I've seen, it looks sensational. Those moments where he's rolling around with that giant lizard thing, I was like, holy hell. That when he's just on those boars, just riding on the back of it with Atreus. Oh, all of it. Literally all of it. I'm popping off. I'm getting excited just thinking about it right now.
And it fits with the timeline, doesn't it? Because Atreus has grown up. He's more like a teenager now. So we're going to get to see that kind of like process of him like growing up with the God of War.
Yeah, exactly, with Kratos. And as we all said before, or as I said before in the last episode, kids are a dick until they hit 20. You know, from 10 upwards. So I imagine that Atreus is going to be giving him a bit more shit this time. And there's going to be even more of a fractured dynamic between the two of them than there was in the first game, which was already pretty fractured. So I can't wait to see kind of how that unfolds. And seeing the blacksmiths come back was just great. I love those characters. So seeing them reappear and open the doors for you and talk to you and everything, I'm in. And that octopus, man. That octopus that he held in his hand, that looked fucking awesome. I just, everything about it, I'm gushing. You need to get me off this. You need to get me off this now. Spence, what's your number 2?
My number 2, and sadly the last one I'm going to say because I've already said my number 1, Spider-Man 2. I'm actually not that excited for God of War. Sorry to say. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be phenomenal. I'm going to buy it day one. I'm going to play it and I will enjoy it. But Spider-Man's going to be sick. I loved Spider-Man on the PS4. I loved Miles Morales. This game, you play as both. Or I imagine you play as both. They released both in the game. And against Venom. And I think Kraven. It's going to be sick. It's going to be a sick fucking game. We've already seen how good the game can look. But what I need to know now is that we've seen what they've done for Miles with his new abilities and such, with his Venom abilities. How do they compensate with Peter? What do they give him? Unless they don't, I don't know how it's going to work, and I want to see what they do.
Yeah, for me, and to top off my list, my number 2 is Spider-Man. So Spider-Man 2 it comes in at my number 2 slot. And yeah, I think when we spoke about this on the spoiler cast for Miles Morales, we said about how they could probably do Peter with just more gadgets. So giving him more gadgets would kind of just, give him similar abilities. Either that or they make him hit harder. It could be just as simple as just give him more power. Because he is more powerful than Miles. He's more powerful in the comics. He's more powerful. He's older. He's an older, more mature Spider-Man. He hits harder than Miles does. And he's an older guy. You're not... A 24-year-old is going to hit harder than a 16-year-old.
Yeah. Outside of powers-wise. But if you get hit and Venom shocked at the same time, it's different,
What I want to know is who the hell is that other villain? You're saying about Kraven.
It is.
I'm falling on the same line of thinking with you. I think it sounds European. What other European baddies we got, right? Kraven makes perfect sense, especially someone for a challenge. What he was saying there, it all seems to tie in with Kraven the Hunter to me. So I could see that definitely being kind of the main focal point. And then maybe we get into a story whereby Peter needs to rely on the symbiote to match up with Craven, maybe. And then maybe it's Miles talking him back. Yeah, you've got to follow that same thing. Go into the clock tower, drips off him, lands on Eddie Brock. You know, come on. But you just got Miles in the mix. So it's like a little bit of a different story to it. Miles could be trying to teach him and pull him back, maybe. And you could do a lot there. You could have that Peter goes off on the rails, starts, potentially killing people or something. And Miles is the one to bring him back round. And maybe it's the Venom shock which gets the symbiote off him. Writes itself.
It could be the twist. What if Miles gets Venom?
I guess.
You don't like that idea? You don't like that idea?
I don't like that idea, no.
It's against the comics.
No, it's fine. I don't mind it. It'll be fine. I'm happy with what Insomniac want to do. At the end of the day, there's things that have happened in there that haven't happened in the comics that shocked me, and I really enjoyed it last time. So they can do what they want, and I'll be happy with it. If Craven's in there, if it gets Craven into the minds of more people, the better. Because that character is woefully underrepresented. And he is an amazing villain for Spider-Man. So I would love to see him in there before he gets his eventual MCU appearance. What about yourself, Phil? Does Spider-Man 2 feature in your list at all?
Spider-Man 2 is number one for me. I was so hyped to see this come up, not only because I predicted it, thank you very much, and won the competition, which I was very happy about. Watching it through, I've been dreaming about this game. Because I love the Spider-Man games that Insomniac made. And then at that point, where Venom comes out of the shadows, I lost my shit in the pub. I was down in my beers. I was loving it. I was absolutely loving that moment. Venom, for the people that don't know, is the name I adopted as my gamer tag. So I am Venom Phil. If people want to add me on PSN or Steam or anything, it is Venom Phil through and through. My World of Warcraft character was called Venomous that I played straight for like 3 odd years, right? I love the character of Venom. But going back to what you guys were saying about the other character in this game. Seeing as we've got Miles, we've got Peter, we've now got Venom coming in. And I'm thinking about other big characters that are coming up in recent movies. So you've got the Morpheus movies coming out, as well as the Craven movie on Sony. But you also have Carnage. Would it not be a big payoff for them, seeing as they've got the Venom character coming in, to pay that off towards the end of the game? I'm not saying he's a reoccurring character, but that hint to where that series is going. I've always known with Spider-Man, the Venom and Carnage stuff to be dynamite. That's the best stuff for me. That's the stuff that attracts me to Spider-Man anyway.
It's difficult, because what I want to say will potentially be a bit of a spoiler for the previous Spider-Man game. Listener, if you haven't played Spider-Man on PS4, turn off the podcast, reevaluate your life, go and play it, and come back. So I'm going to say something now that is a minor spoiler, okay, for Spider-Man. It's all building towards Harry. That's what it's building towards. Spider-Man on PS4 was all building towards, where's Harry gone? Where is he? He's in that vat at the end of the game. We don't know what that's all about. There's something there. It's building towards the goblins more than it's building towards Carnage. So I can't see Carnage being in this. It makes sense with a symbiote there, but I want the goblins make way more sense for it to build up to that rather than anything else, in my mind.
I mean, mate, there's so much going on. We've got Venom, potentially Craven. The end of the game had... I don't want to say it because the podcast, but I'll say it because you've just done it. It had Harry, all led up to Harry, the symbiote. We had the lizard there as well. Don't forget about that.
Oh, it was just Kurt Connors, wasn't it? It was just Kurt Connors working on it, wasn't it?
But he's there for a reason. You know he is.
There's a lot of spinning plates here.
There's so much.
But this is why it's exciting. This is why Spider-Man 2, we just all buzzing for it. I mean, for it all to be in our top threes, all really, really high, it's amazing. So before we go into any more time on what was about 20 seconds worth of footage, it's probably best for us to move this on. Phil, you've got honourable mention. Bring it on.
My honourable mention for the show is a game that I've known that's in development. I've seen it at previous shows. But Bloodhunt, it surprised me. I saw that game and I thought, ooh, there's something different about this game. It showed me something extra. It raised that eyebrow a little bit. I don't see why this isn't a game that, I'll play a demo. I'll play an early beta if I can get access to it. This is a game I'm slightly interested in it. Did it pique your interest, guys?
For me, no. No, not really. I think it looked okay. I think it looked all right. I'd play a beta, and that might be the selling point for me. But at the moment, no, not really. It's nothing that's going to push the needle for me to actually go and, be excited about this. But I'm sure we're going to see it loads more in the future. So I'm happy to have my mind changed. But right now, it didn't really do an awful lot for me.
Yeah, for me, isn't it just Vampire Battle Royale?
That's exactly what it is, yeah.
Yeah, nah, fuck that. I've played so many Battle Royales, man.
You just literally did the pitch meeting. When they went in, they said,
Yeah.
Battle Royale. What can we do, boys?
Vampires.
Someone goes, I just saw 30 Days a Night. Vampires! Vampires and Battle Royale. Done. Let's do it, boys. Let's do it. Yeah, you've done it, mate. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about that. I'm never going near that game.
Do you guys have any honourable mentions for the show? Is there anything else that stuck out apart from, I suppose the big three and Forspoken?
I have a game I'd like to talk about, but it's not an honorable mention.
I've got one honorable mention. So my honorable mention is Alan Wake. Alan Wake Remastered is something that I've been wanting to check out for years, but I've never had an Xbox. No plans to get an Xbox. They haven't even shown the Halo campaign footage, so I have no plans on getting an Xbox. So seeing that Alan Wake is coming out in a remastered format in only a couple of weeks' time in October, mega buzzing for that. I cannot wait to try it. I really, really, really cannot wait to play it and experience it because all I've heard is positive things. Granted, the last Remedy game I played in Control, I didn't rate too highly. I thought it was okay. I thought the gameplay was great. I thought the story was bollocks. And I know a lot of people have probably got a problem with that, but it didn't fit for me at all. And Alan Wake's in that same universe. But I cannot wait to experience it and play this classic that people call as a classic and try it for myself. So that's definitely my honorable mention. But Spencer, you mentioned about a game you want to play?
I don't think I want to play it, mate. I'd like to discuss it a little bit.
Oh, go on.
But I'm not a fan of it. Basically, I'm going to say it wrong. Cheer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the cartoon
Cheer.
game.
That game, I saw it and it thoroughly pissed me off. Because the developers just saw Nintendo and thought, what's their best-selling games? Oh, Mario Odyssey, right, yeah. Breath of the Wild, right, yeah. Wind Waker, yeah, all right. Chuck them together. You got your little movement and you're flying on your glider, like Breath of the Wild. You know, Mario throws his hat on stuff in Odyssey and he goes into it and then they're wearing the hat. She got a little flower in her hair. She goes into an animal and then the animal has the flower on their hair. And then they gave it the Wind Waker art style and they made it foreign. And that is all it is.
She also plays a guitar, doesn't she? A lot like the flute.
Like Last of Us.
Yeah.
Exactly like The Last of Us. All they did was saw like big games and thought, we can use that. Go on. Oi, Greg, mate. Chuck that in the game. Yeah, safe. That's it.
And the guy's like, vampires? Do you want vampires in this one? He's like, wrong game. It's down the hall. Down the hall. Down the hall. You're at the wrong meeting. Sorry.
Yeah, but that game, I've seen it on Twitter a little bit. And a lot of people are like, this game looks so cute and looks so good. And I'm like, fam, it's literally like 3 Nintendo games chucked into one. And just made it foreign. That is it. I'm good.
Just made it foreign.
Yeah, that's it. I'm not playing that game. I'm not going near that game. I'd just play Mario Odyssey or Breath of the Wild. Same game, better.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's fair. It doesn't tickle my interest, I gotta admit. It's not something for me. I thought it looked cute. I actually quite like the art style. I thought it looked quite nice. But I know exactly what you mean. When you pointed it out when we watched the stream together and you said, that's Mario Odyssey, I straight away was like, fuck yeah, it is. I just never thought about it. If it was like a hat, I'd be like, oh, that's overtly Mario Odyssey. But You're exactly right. It is Mario Odyssey, but instead of going into, bullet bills, you're going into turtles. But yeah, it is the same thing.
Strange that you say that. I made the same comment when I was in the pub with Deborah and Eric. I said, "Oh, this just looks like Wind Waker."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exact same art style.
That's what we all thought. We saw through it straight away.
And after a quick check and collation of the points, we now have our top 3. In third place, we have Forspoken. In second place is a 2-way tie between God of War and Wolverine. And in first place is Spider-Man 2.
Well done to all the games shown. Amazing conference was had by all. Now, I did tweet out following the conference asking for any questions or thoughts about it. We've had a few people respond to us. So first off, Jeff Franklin writes, top show with some cracking titles on the horizon for PlayStation. Personal highlights were Wolverine, Spider-Man 2 and God of War Ragnarok. Great choices, Jeff. Are you guys hoping that Spidey 2 has co-op? And a follow-up question, guesstimate on the God of War release date. He's thinking September or October 2022. Now, before we get into the Spider-Man 2 as co-op, this would be only quick for us to go through. Shot on the line, as always, when we hear about this. Guys, God of War release date. I'll go first if you want. We got Horizon in the February. Gran Turismo, I imagine, is going to be more of a end-of-year game, because it's going to be the biggest system seller, looking at the past. I reckon this is a June, July game, 2022. Same kind of timescale as Last of Us was, June, July.
I'm going to say, is this stupid? It might be stupid. I don't think it's stupid. It's fine. We saw so much gameplay. April. I was thinking 2023, and now I'm thinking April. I've changed my mind.
Wow, April would be so hype. Oh my god, I'd love that so much.
I'm thinking 2 months after Horizon.
Okay, well, I'm probably going to go with Jeff's suggestion of sort of September, October. I'm going to pick September. I think a lot of games sort of come out there ready for sort of Christmas period, isn't it? That buy-in period before Christmas, especially when people are buying new PS5s, maybe even the PS5 Pro, considering the rumors we've heard today, or PS6, I don't know. But I'll go for September 2022.
Okay. Well, I'm sure that by the time we actually hear an announcement, we won't remember what episode it is, so we'll have to trawl back through. So hopefully, listener, you have this in mind that we covered it on episode 25. Okay, so his second question there was, are you guys hoping that Spider-Man 2 has co-op? Now, for me personally, I don't want co-op. I want it to be a single-player experience. I don't want it to have that at all. But I don't know about you guys.
I love a co-op game. One of my most favourite games of all time is a co-op game. Portal 2. But also one of the games which I cannot mention, I had loads of fun playing that together with you, Davey.
Yeah, the fifth entry.
The fifth entry in the series, yes.
Yeah, yeah. I thought that's the one you were going for first when you said about co-op, and I was thinking, oh, he's got around this by saying Portal 2, well done. Yeah, as much fun as co-op is, I'm just worried about how they'd be able to handle that with Spider-Man, if I'm honest. Like, I don't know how much that would ruin the experience.
Is the AI going to be good enough if you play it single player? That's the question, isn't it? And I think it won't be. So yeah, no, I'm very much on the line of I want this to be single player 100%. As much as I absolutely love co-op games, I don't think this is the place to do it.
I'm very much in agreement, I think. I would... See, I had the exact same train of thought where I would rather have a co-op companion rather than an AI fighting next to me. I would much rather that. But you could just be fighting different blokes around the corner from each other. You know? You could be nowhere else. But if I'm fighting a bloke as Miles and then Peter Webb pulls him from me and nicks my geezer, I'm fuming. And I know if we were playing co-op, that'd happen all day.
There's lots of popular games that we enjoy where you have two characters where you play two sections of the game. Sometimes split over 2 discs. Which I don't imagine this will be. This will all be on the single disc. But yeah, why couldn't it be like this? You played the first half of the game as Miles and the second half as Peter.
I think it's going to be like constant character switching throughout. Similar to... Well, I guess... No, actually, not very similar. I was going to say similar to Last of Us 2, but it's not. You kind of play them for a long period of time each. But I reckon you're just going to either be constantly switching or during combat you can on the fly switch.
Oh, I don't want that. I do not want that. I don't want it to go down the same route as like Guardians is doing, in the sense that you switch out characters or you bring like Miles in as like a team up or something like that. I don't want it to be that way. I think I want it split into 2 stories, and you have maybe like 50-50 or 25, 25, 25, 25 or something like that.
Well, you think about it, the original Spider-Man, you had character switching then because you'd switch into Mary Jane. You played Mary Jane sections. There's no reason why they couldn't just have sections of the story that are Miles specific or that are Peter specific. There's no reason why you couldn't do that and them all have their own gameplay implementation. And it means that you can have a lot of the story where it ends on a cliffhanger in a certain bit, you take over as another character, find out what's happened to them. You know, you could do a lot of things with the story with having it done in that way and still be a single player driven narrative. I think they could do a lot there. Now, combat wise, if they're both together, the way Batman did it on Arkham Knight, on the last one, you were often teaming up with other members of the Bat family, and they didn't interfere with you. The AI was fighting enemies just as you were, just as powerful as you were, and you'd fill up a meter that would generally could do combo attacks together, and that worked really well for the combat. And seeing as how Spider-Man is so derived from Arkham's combat anyway, they could do that quite well, I think, for those moments they are together. But like you guys said, just separate it out. Just have certain parts which are specific to certain characters with their own combat traits.
I think it'd be really cool. Like the character switching on the fly, like I said earlier. Imagine you're playing as Peter, you launch him into the air, and you blast them down back to the ground so your combo's finished. And then you quick switch to Miles and you pick them back up before they hit the ground and you carry on the combo. I think that'd be awesome. But I wouldn't want it throughout the whole game. I'd want that for maybe like 2 missions throughout the whole game. That's it. Just special little scenarios. I would want the majority of the game to be you're this character and then you're this character. Not at the same time.
Quick question. Do their powers cross over? Because there's lots of upgrades in both of the games. They're very different, aren't they? Do those powers cross over, or are they 2 different kind of like fighting styles, if you like?
I think they definitely don't cross over because obviously you're upgrading Venom abilities for Miles and gadgets for Peter. It's kind of impossible for them to cross over, I think. Unless they're in the same kind of trees. In which case, if you've got like a Miles ability in one slot, that same slot would be unlocked for Peter, but it'd be a different ability. That's kind of the only way I could see it crossing over. Other than that, I don't think it would at all.
I think the combat with the Spider-Man games, there's certain combos and certain things that you kind of get really accustomed to. And if you got 2 different trees to manage, depending on which character you are, if you're doing a lot of crossing over, I think it could be quite complicated. So I think the more seamless they can make it, even though it doesn't make sense in terms of, you know, like say you unlock like an uppercut launcher with Peter, Miles should just be able to do it then at that point too. I don't think it takes anything away from it. I think it's just then the variety comes into, like you said, Spence, like with the gadgets or with the Venom powers, rather than it being 2 completely different movesets, because that would just be a fucking nightmare. You know, and you might end up just really hating playing as one character that you don't play as much because all your combos don't work. So I can see it being more seamless than anything else, personally. But I hope that answers your questions, Jeff. Thank you ever so much for writing in. We've had 2 other people write in. So Junk Dog from Twitter writes in. He says, Venom and Wolverine are what's going to push me to buy a PlayStation 5, to be honest. Now, guys, do you think that what they've shown here is in correlation with what Junk Dog's saying, that these announcements today would push people to buy a PlayStation 5?
I want to say no so bad, but maybe. I don't think it would push me to buy a PS5, but I could see it pushing other people.
I think if I didn't have one, it would push me 100%. Seeing that and knowing that I've kind of missed out on Miles Morales and then seeing Venom turn up in these games, I'd be like 100%, I need to get that PS5. This would be the reason, if I hadn't got it already, to push me to it. I would agree with Junk Dog 100%. I think these are the games that you look at and think, now is the time that I need to buy a PS5. Things are ramping up. You know, with Venom, with Wolverine, and the God of War. If you like that series, maybe he was the same as me and didn't give it a chance. I would definitely suggest to him that he goes back and plays the original God of War, like I am, on PS4. But yeah, this would be the time to push me to buy a PS5 if I haven't got one.
I disagree. I honestly think the thing that's going to push people to buy a PS5 is Knights of the Old Republic. I think that's the game that pushes people in. Because you think the people that don't have a PS5 or a PlayStation in general going to be probably more PC based, right? This game is so well regarded and has a historic relationship, obviously, with PC and with Xbox. This is the game that will push people who have been like, I like Marvel, but I'm not like crazy into, you know, third-person action adventure games. I'm not really too into that. I can kind of leave it. It will come to PC in 20 years, you know, I'll just pick it up then. This would be the thing they think, fuck, they got Knights of the Republic. This is it. Like, I can see this being the thing that loads of people who are PC-centric only won't want to wait, like that 2-year exclusivity window, or however long it is. There's no idea how long that actually is for, and would go for. I think more than anything else. I think for the people who are PS4 owners, what they showed here would be the chance to upgrade. But I think for people who aren't in the ecosystem at all, that Knights of the Old Republic's the one to get them in.
Well, mate, funny for you to bring up Knights of the Old Republic. We actually have another question. This one comes from my friend Dan. He says, how could Knights of the Old Republic's mechanics be adapted for the modern day? The story and writing obviously don't need to be touched, but the combat system especially is really archaic and more MMO than RPG. So what combat system would work best for that kind of game? Real time with pause, meter/time based like FF7 Remake, or just action in real time? What are your boys' thoughts?
Phil, did you ever play Knights of the Old Republic? I know obviously you're not a big Star Wars guy. In fact, actually you went so far as to say that you kind of hated Star Wars on the last episode. So have you played this before?
Unfortunately, to Spencer's friend, I will apologise. I'm not a Star Wars guy at all, and I never played it.
Fair. Well, I can speak to this a little bit. So I played Knights of the Old Republic quite a lot, and now this is sacrilege. This is something that people don't normally admit to. I liked the second one more. I really liked Knights of the Republic 2. I really loved it. I don't know why. I just did at the time. Could be a stupid kid, I'm not sure. But I love that game. It's great. But in terms of the combat on the original, they definitely need to update it. It desperately needs an update. They can't do like a Diablo 2 on this and just kind of make it look pretty and that's it. They need to redo it from the ground up. In terms of how they do it, I think probably the best way to do it would be to follow Final Fantasy VII Remake style. I think that's such an ingenious way to do combat. Party switching was excellent in that. You can really key up all your attacks and never feel like you're not doing anything because you got your access to your basic attacks on just the face buttons, and it works seamlessly. It worked actually brilliantly, and I love Final Fantasy VII. It's one of my favorite games of all time. The remake obviously wasn't as good, but we don't need to get into that. But we don't need to open that can of worms right now. Thank God we didn't run the podcast at that point. I think just following that kind of combat style would be the best, without a shadow of a doubt. I don't think you need to go turn-based. I don't think you need to change too much. You still had a kind of freedom of movement in the original. So just kind of do that and update it for a modern audience. Spence, what are your thoughts, though?
Mate, honestly, every single thing you said, kind of just completely agree. The story is going to be fine. As Dan said in his question, the story doesn't need to be touched. And I don't think they will touch the story. They said something along the lines of the story's perfect as is. The story's going to stay the same. I feel like everything else is just going to be redone. They'll probably change the environments, change the combat, change the mechanics, just completely remake the game and just stay true to the story. The combat, I feel, will be literally nothing like the original, other than you're swinging around a sword and then a lightsaber. Other than that, that's it. I never played the original. I don't know how it felt to play. But it playing like Final Fantasy VII, like you say, is probably the best approach for a game like this. And I would love to play it. Yeah.
I mean, we got a long way to go before we even see that game again. I imagine that game's going to be shown in probably like two E3's time. Before we see that again, it's going to be a long old way to go. But we'll have to keep a close eye on it. And listener, it's been great having you write in and respond to us on this episode. Really, really enjoyed reading your questions out and kind of hopefully be able to give you our opinions and our kind of insight into as to what's going on. We'd love to hear more from you. So please remember to write into the email pswetrust@gmail.com.
Or you can join us on the Reddit. The URL will be in the description below.
And always feel free to reach out to us on Twitter @InPSWeTrust or any of our individual Twitter accounts also in the description below.
So I think on that note, it's time for us to end this podcast. Thank you ever so much for listening to us. If you want to support the show, the best way to do that is to leave a review. So you can leave that on any of your podcast services of choice. It all helps us with the algorithm to find new people. It's great to see our podcast growing each episode. So thank you to all of you for listening to us. It really, really means a lot to us. But thank you ever so much for listening. I've been Davey.
I've been Phil.
And I've been Spencer.
Take care, guys.
Peace.
Hello listeners, Spencer here. Just a little editor's note. The boys forgot to give out their shots. So I got niced this episode. But that also means that those shots are now gone. They cannot use them in the future. They're gone forever.
In PS We Trust is hosted by Davey, Phil, and Spencer. You can write into the show via our email, pswetrust@gmail.com. Our Twitter is @InPSWeTrust. To find each of us online, follow our Twitters, @SSJDavey, @PhilipHoy, @SpenPie_. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other. See ya.